We've all been waiting patiently, and it's finally here, ladies and gentlemen. The second flock tournament on Underdog Fantasy. It's only a 3 max entry, so we are going to have to get our entries in relatively quickly before this fills. Yeah, $10 buy-in. We'll explain the tournament structure as we hop in here, but we are in this lobby, and there are 10 spots open for whoever anybody wants to draft. You can get in right now. Flock Tournament 2 on Underdog. Yes, it is on Underdog, my friend, if you wanted to get in here. And yeah, really excited for this. Let me explain the draft structure. So obviously, this is a $10 buy-in. This is a tournament where $10,000 goes to first, $5,000 for second, $4,000 for third, $3,500 for fourth, all the way down the line. What's interesting with this flock tournament, since it's a smaller field contest, is you are going to have your 12-team draft. So it's me versus these 11 other people. 1 out of the 12 people, the highest scoring team in this league, will advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament. There in weeks 15 and 16, it is individual matchups. Mano-y-mano. You're going up against one other person in round 15. You advance. Cool. You make it to round 16. Same thing. Round 16, you're going up against one other person. It's like a matchup, like a regular fantasy football league. You advance. Cool. You're going to week 17. And in week 17, there you have a 100-person final week. Super excited for this format. Really excited to get in these drafts. We should have 3 that we're able to do tonight. Maybe we save one and hop in also. Underdog just dropped another. They dropped a bunch of different tournaments. They just dropped a Superflex tournament. They just dropped a $7 Poodle tournament. Going to be a ton of fun, but thank you, everybody, for coming out. Dylan, thanks for the shout on the haircut. Appreciate it, my guy. Michael says, pick 4. I'm coming for you, Mason. Well, we'll see, my guy. I know there are a bunch of people out here. Hartnell out here at pick 10. Michael, yes, this is still going to be best ball. This is still best ball. But let's freaking go. Brady says, Ayuk's a Steeler. Hashtag trust Ricky. I'm trusting Ricky. Like I said in the live stream the other night, I trust Ricky. I think Ayuk is more likely than not a Steeler. So Jefferson off the board at 5. Let's see what we are going to do. I'm assuming when we get pick 7, we are going running back. I'm sure that we've told you all this time and time again, but I prefer Breece over Bijan. So I'm going to go ahead. I will take Breece. I know most people will go Bijan Robinson, however, but we'll go ahead and lock him in. Now, Graham says, are you going to do another $10 flock draft after this one? Yes, I'll do another flock draft after this one. Maybe we do all 3 of our flock drafts tonight, because I think Underdog's going to drop another flock tournament tomorrow. Or maybe we do 2 flock drafts tonight, and then maybe we get in a Poodle draft. We'll see. We'll see how things go, and we'll see how things progress. And I don't know if we're going to do the Superflex. If we have enough people asking for the Superflex, I'll hop in the Underdog Superflex tournament. Just personally, I'm a bigger fan of the 1 quarterback leagues. But Joseph, welcome to being a member of the flock, my friend. Appreciate you. Now, let's see. A Poodle drafts a new draft that Underdog just dropped. Underdog dropped a bunch of different tournaments today. But Puka goes off the board to pick 14. Interesting to see Puka behind both London and Debo here. You can also kind of assume that the team there at 12 decides to go for a unique build with London and Debo. Now, whenever we decide to go with Breece in round 1, more likely than not, we are going to put ourselves in a position where we need to go wide receiver in round 2, or things will get very awkward. So we're going to go ahead. We will take Chris Olave to pair it with Breece Hall. Not going to be a super unique pairing. I probably wouldn't recommend for you to go Chris Olave in the middle of round 2 of your regular redraft league. Just specifically in these Underdog drafts, wide receiver is going to go extremely early. It's going to be hard to find guys that we like later on, so we kind of have to lock them in now. And of course, real quick, if you don't know what we're doing here, this is Underdog Fantasy. This is where I draft every single day. I've drafted here every single day for years. They're best ball drafts, so no time commitment during this season. That's how I draft hundreds of teams every year. That's how I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And of course, if you wanted to join a draft with us, we're doing this every single night. Underdog going forward is going to have a flock tournament every Monday night and every Thursday night. And if you wanted to hop in one of those drafts with us or any other night, we will be live. You can find that link in the description in the comment section. Code FLOCK would hook you up with my 2024 rankings, my 2024 draft guide, both of which are going to be updated every Sunday alongside my 2024 ADP consensus cheat sheet. And if you use code FLOCK, you're going to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. A special Christian McCaffrey pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for week 1. You do need to be in one of these states, however, if you want to draft on Underdog. Good news is it is available in pretty much every state. It's in California. It's in Texas. It's in Florida. Hold 9 yards. You can see the map there. But yes, the draft dropped. We are hoping it was going to be out the past 2 nights, but we have it. We have it. We are in. Now, after we take Olave, Taylor goes 19. Obviously, I think in a regular league, I'm going to prefer Jonathan Taylor over Chris Olave. It's just simply, it's easier to find running back values that I like in the middle rounds here in comparison to wide receiver. So I know we've talked about this time and time again, but we actually have my top 50 redraft rankings coming out on the channel tomorrow. And there you will see I have Jonathan Taylor ranked ahead of Chris Olave for your regular redraft league. But now, MM says, Mason, I use your code on Underdog. How do I get access to your rankings and website? Every Sunday, I may send the email out a little bit quicker this week. You're going to get emailed a link that will give you access to the site. You will get emailed the updated draft guide PDF, the updated Google Sheet link to the ADP consensus cheat sheet. So you'll get the PDF, you'll get a link to the site with exclusive access, and you will get, with the PDF has the updated rankings in it as well, and you'll get the Google Sheet link to the ADP draft cheat sheet. So you can find everything on the site if you wanted to follow that link, or you could just download it straight from the email. I didn't want to make it where you had to go on the site if you wanted to get that stuff. Okay, so let's move this down. DJ Moore off the board at pick 30. What's the news with Derrick Henry? Not in line to see preseason action. Honestly, doesn't really impact me too much. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Michael Pittman Jr. So we had some news come out today regarding Josh Downs, that it looks like Downs is going to be dealing with the high ankle sprain, going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. And with Downs missing that time, I think it's just easy to project Pittman to have a massive target share now in this offense. Because if you look at the difference between Josh Downs and, say, I don't know, A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell is going to be that typical field stretching wide receiver, right? Where he's not going to command a ton of targets, but hopefully he's just going to open things up for this overall offense. Josh Downs more so profiles to be the guy operating closer to the line of scrimmage that is taking target volume. So Josh Downs missing, I do think this bumps up the projection that you should have for the target share for Pittman Jr. just a bit. I'm not going to be reaching on him at the 2-3 turn by any means, but I mean, if you're going to be comparing him to the other guys that he was already being drafted alongside, I think it's enough to give him the edge. Yeah, so Downs is now up to 6 weeks, high ankle sprain. And if you look at how far we have for the season, if they're telling us he's out 6 weeks, probably misses the first 3 weeks of the year. And if that's the case, he probably just starts in the PP. But Joseph says, been a big fan, been watching for a few weeks. Now on my PS5 on a guest account, subscribed on my phone so I could become a member. Didn't get in this draft, but that's good. So you can get second place all. Love it, my guy. Thank you. I'm sorry I can't read. I'm not that smart, but really appreciate you. And yeah, crazy that you're on the PS5 for here. But anyway, thank you again. But let's move this over. So looking at this, I think with the news that it looks like I'm trusting Ricky, hashtag trust Ricky. I think that Ayuk is more likely than not a Steeler. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Amari Cooper. Now, one thing that I need to ask y'all, and honestly, I don't have a good feeling with this. If George Pickens got sent in return for Brandon Ayuk, obviously we're assuming that the Steelers will also have to send additional assets. But say Pickens gets sent to San Francisco, Ayuk gets sent to Pittsburgh. Does George Pickens go up or down your rankings? Please let me know in the live chat. Does George Pickens go up or down your rankings if that happens? Okay. Up, up, up. Up, down. Up, up. So it's interesting everybody's saying up. Because y'all know my base assumption is for sure we want him to be in the better offense, which the Niners should be a much better offense in general. But at the same time, you're joining a team right before the season starts that already has Debo, already has Kittle, already has CMC, just took a wide receiver in round 1. And you essentially have two front offices agreeing at the same time that you're a significantly worse talent than George Pickens. I'm sorry, than Brandon Ayuk. Because don't get it twisted. If we see the Steelers trade George Pickens for Ayuk, then turn around and give Ayuk $40 million a year, give Ayuk a monstrous number. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if 40 million is accurate or exaggerating, but still, tomato. If they trade picks and George Pickens for the luxury of paying Brandon Ayuk all the money in the world, I think it does give us a little bit of insight of what NFL front offices think of George Pickens. And like I said, it's definitely an overall offensive improvement, but he's going to see a team that he has no familiarity with, doesn't know the coaching staff, doesn't know the game plan. There are a bunch of wide receivers already there that have chemistry with Brock Purdy. Like, I don't know how big of a role that he has in San Francisco, if we're going to be honest with each other. Search says, full BBR 10-team Superflex. I have the third pick. Who should we take? Chase, Hall, Bijan, Jefferson. Assuming Lamb and CMC are gone, give us $150,000 smile. Appreciate you, my guy. I'll try my best. All right, I tried my best, my guy. But anyway, if it's a Superflex format, obviously it's a little bit tough because then at that point, I do think that Josh Allen is in play. But between these names, if Lamb and CMC are gone, I would personally be going Tyreek over Chase, Hall, Bijan, Jefferson. How I personally have it ranked is I have CMC, Lamb, Tyreek, Hall, Bijan, and then we get to the Chase Jefferson. So I'd go Tyreek or Brees or Allen. Really up to you, though. Okay, so Rashee Rice continuing to move up rankings. If he doesn't get suspended at all, I mean, he can still crush going there at 51. Xavier Worthy goes at 53 to take away from the Mahomes team there, which is really interesting. Wonder if the Mahomes team pivots over and decides to go Hollywood, which they don't. I personally am going to go Dalton Kincaid here. Yes, we're going to snipe the Josh Allen team on Kincaid. I'm very sorry. But at the same time, I think we've mentioned this a ton. I do think that Dalton Kincaid can straight up outscore Terry McLaurin. And you get those points at tight end, so I'm going to be completely fine going for it. Jaden says, what are sportsbooks saying about Ayuk? I'll see if I can find any updated lines, my friend. I am honestly, I just, maybe it's my fault. Maybe I shouldn't do this. I don't want to say my fault, but maybe it's naive of me. But I legitimately just trust Ricky. So I'm just kind of operating with the assumption he's a Steeler right now. Okay, let's see if I can find anything. Can't see anything on the Action Network. It's really hard to find lines like this. Yeah, I don't think that you can find betting odds. If somebody can see odds as of today, because honestly, odds of last week, I don't think matter at all. Let me know. I'm going to go Kenneth Walker. Now, typically, I don't really care too much about what coaches are saying in training camp, because a lot of times it's like, oh, yeah, this guy's really good. He's really good. He's really good. He's really good. Coaches are never going to come out here and they're never going to say, yeah, I'm mad at this guy or this guy sucks. And when that happens, it happens with Kondre Miller, and Kondre Miller goes from being someone that's being drafted at about pick 100 to all of a sudden going in the 18th round, right? But what's interesting is the new offensive coordinator in Seattle comes in, and obviously there's some ambiguity here where we don't necessarily know what the split's going to look like if you are looking at Zach Charbonnet versus Kenneth Walker, because this is kind of a new coaching staff here. Didn't exactly know what to expect. And they came out and he said, yeah, Kenneth Walker can do everything on third down. We love what Kenneth Walker can do pass blocking. We love what he can do running routes. We love what he can do catching the football. And previously, I was kind of operating under the assumption that Charbonnet was maybe better in that workload for Seattle, because that's kind of how we saw them get used last year. But if all of a sudden Kenneth Walker actually has the third down role in this offense, I think Kenneth Walker does have a ton of upside here. Okay. But real quick, I have a special guest scheduled for y'all. I don't think y'all have actually seen this guest before. So please, everybody, get real excited. Did this. I promise you, this will not let you down. This is going to be the best guest we've had ever on the Flock Network. Come on, get in here. Get in here. I heard you scratching. Just kidding. It's the same guest we always have, right? Because she is a fan favorite. She is the pick whisperer, the cutest drafter in all of fantasy football. You want to say hi to everybody? Ugh. She is Miley. Tell him hi. Tell him hi. Give him that smile. All right, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I knew nobody saw that one coming. It's not like this is the 10th day in a row of that. But Tim says, keep an A.J. Brown in the 7th. Would you keep a Pacheco or Puka in the 10th? In non-PPR format, definitely makes it a little bit closer, just given the fact that we want to be giving the bump up to running backs. I still probably go Puka. It was going to be Puka by a landslide until I read that it was non-PPR. We still go Puka, but it's definitely much closer because of those league settings. Okay, so we're going to be on the clock at 79. This is a little bit of an awkward spot now that you have the DeAndre Hopkins injury. Kyler's not necessarily in play for us here. I know y'all are going to hate me for doing this, but there's so, I don't think I prefer Jordan Addison straight up in a vacuum over Aaron Jones, James Conner, Ramondre, Najee, Jalen Warren. But if you look at the massive tier of running backs that we're going to have on the way back around, I think that there will be a bigger drop-off from Jordan Addison to the wide receiver we'll be looking at pick 90 versus Aaron Jones and the running back that would be looking at pick 90. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to reach on Addison. And yeah, I'm fine with it, to be honest. But Betamerk says, Mason, you're the best ESPN 10-team keeper redraft league, single flex. My options for keeper are Chase Brown in the 9th or Ayuk in the 2nd. What are your thoughts? It's Ayuk by a landslide. I think a lot of times when people look at these keeper questions and these keeper decisions, they make the mistake of overrating the cost that you actually get to keep that guy at. If you look at the expected value between a 7th round pick and a 9th round pick, effectively, they're almost the same thing, especially in a keeper league, because in a keeper league, they're more like an 8th round pick and a 10th round pick. So it really, you just kind of come down to ask, would I rather have Ayuk or Chase Brown? And the answer should be Ayuk by a landslide, unless Zach Moss tears an ACL. So yeah, I'm for sure going to go ahead. I'm going to take Ayuk there, my friend. Now, let's see. Joe Burrow off the board at 96. Aaron Jones goes 87. Now, let's move this. Hopkins, 88. So, yeah, that's what I was talking about previously. We're going to get a running back making it to us at 90 almost regardless here, which is why I'm fine reaching on Jordan Addison, just because I am okay with the running back that we're going to get at 90 almost regardless. So we will go ahead and we will get Jalen Warren here. Now, one thing that kind of sucks is if you look at our current quarterback situation, this team that, because we passed on Anthony Richardson in round 5 in favor of Dalton Kincaid, we're currently boxed out of QB. Like Derek Carr, obviously with Olave, not exciting at all. We can go to Sean with Amari. But Kincaid, Josh Allen's already gone. Pittman, Anthony Richardson's already gone. So we are kind of limited at this point with the quarterbacks that we can be targeting later in this draft. So this is one of those spots where we're more likely than not looking at like Tyler Lockett in the middle rounds. That way we can set up a Geno Smith pairing later or something similar to that. Now, TKF says, can you rate the team? It's a 10-team half PPR league, 2-2-2. Quarterback's Mahomes. Running back is Zamir White, Achane. Receiver, Chase and Ayuk. Tight end, Kelsey. The flex, Waddle and Smith. I was very worried when I looked at the running backs, but to have Chase, Ayuk, Waddle, Smith in the elite stack with Mahomes, Kelsey, phenomenal squad. All I would say is let's definitely make sure, especially in a half PPR 10-team league, we roster as many running backs down there on the bench. That way, hopefully, we can have a little bit of upside and maybe have someone over Zamir if Zamir doesn't work out. But phenomenal team. Joseph says, in the Army at Fort Hood, about 45 minutes from Austin, would be at the Flock meetup, but unfortunately, will be in the field that day for a few weeks. Damn. My guy, here's the plan, okay? We're going to come up with this together. I actually have a bunch of friends in the military. They're all over the country now. Sadly, they pretty much all left Austin and left me alone now, but a little bit of experience with field work from secondhand experience. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to go MIA, all right? John's in this chat. Good. That's good. Send John the address of where your field work will be at. John will take the Jeep. He'll go pick you up. You'll be MIA for the night. You'll come to the Flock meetup. Afterwards, John will go drop you back off in the field. You get back with your group and you say you fell, trapped your foot in between two rocks. Tell them it was like 127 hours. Luckily, the rock moved and you were able to get out, and they'll never know the difference, my guy. So yeah, coordinate with John. I'm sure he'll be able to get you. But appreciate you nonetheless, my guy. But we are coming back up on the clock relatively soon. Now, what's interesting is when we have Dak and Daniels falling, we can go Dak Prescott and target Brandon Cooks on the way back around. Brandon Cooks, ADP 115, will be on the clock at 114. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take Dak Prescott here, 103. We're going to target Brandon Cooks. If we don't get Brandon Cooks, we'll take Jalen Tolbert later on. And yeah, well, I mean, we're sending a prayer we get Cooks here because like we were talking about in the last round, our quarterback situation is not the best. Okay. But next question. Dylan says, super casual fantasy player here. Usually only in 2 to 3 leagues, but your content makes the offseason so much more enjoyable. Thanks to No. Thank you so much, my guy. Really hope that the video that I put out today helps you in your league. I think just going through and looking at the expected value from those positional spots based off your league settings should help a ton just for like a regular fantasy football league. So really do appreciate you, my guy. Okay. Let's smooth this over. Jimbo says, is CMC still the pick at the 101 in a 12-team league with 1 flex and 2 receivers? Also, what positions are in play for a 2-3 turn? I definitely think elite quarterback, elite tight end are in play there, unless you get like Achane falling to you. And yes, I do think that CMC is still the 101, even with the calf strain. It's crazy, but I mean, if you look at the pick'ems that are out on Underdog right now for CMC, they have him at almost 1,700 total yards higher or lower. In your league where you're going to start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, in that shallow of a lineup, if CMC gives you 90% of what he did last year and you don't draft him, you lose, essentially. Okay, so let's move this over. Looks like we get sniped on Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks goes to pick 111, about 5 spots before ADP. So sadly, we're not going to get him. Instead, we're going to have to go ahead. We will take Tajee Spears. And then we're going to have to look to target Jalen Tolbert a little later on. Or maybe we just don't have a Dak stack. Dak's the guy who gets us to the playoff tournament. And then maybe for week 17 here where it's the 100-player pool, then at that point, we need to have a stack such as like Deshaun Amari go off or something. Now, Matthias says, at the 104 ESPN, start 7, do I grab Laporta Kelsey at the 2-3 turn, or do I go wide receiver, and settle for Andrews, Kincaid, McBride with an elite quarterback? Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. I would say, so if we're looking at the 209, I'm probably not going to go Kelsey or Laporta there. If they can make it to you at the 3-4 turn, at the 304, then yes, I think you go with an elite tight end. But yeah, I mean, there is a shot you can go like Andrews Lamar, which would be phenomenal. David says, Drake in the 5th, Dak in the 7th, half PPR, 7th gone by the start of the 5th. if you're asking me Drake May or Dak Prescott and you get Dak cheaper, I'm going to go Dak Prescott. But I'm afraid that may not be. Oh, is this Drake London? Oh, if it's Drake London, go Drake London. You'll be able to figure out quarterback, my friend. Okay. Now let's move this over. And oh yeah, real quick, going back to the Flock meetup. If you are not going to be in the Army doing field work, highly recommend you coming out. Should be a ton of fun. I mean, it's about 2 weeks from now. It's in Austin, Texas, August 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Should be a ton of fun. I'm going to be there. Ton of fantasy football YouTubers are going to be there as well. We're going to be talking football. I'm sure people are going to be setting up leagues, hanging out with each other. Sadly, I am having to sell tickets just because I have to tell the venue how many people are coming, so I need a head count. It's on flockfantasy.store. They're only $15, and also there's half-price beer there, and also I'm giving away free merch. I'm losing money on it. Like I said, I'm very sorry that we have to do the tickets this year. I just really need to coordinate with the venue because they have max capacity. But yeah, please go to flockfantasy.store. You can find the link in the live chats right now, or you can find it in the description as well. But yeah, would love to hang out with you at the meetup. The meetups are always extremely fun. Okay. And Jimothy says, Mason, did you get a haircut? Yes, I got a haircut specifically for the meetup. I could not be looking disappointing for y'all. I'm on my, I'm going to be dressed to the nines. I'm going to have every hair at the perfect length. I'm going to have makeup done just right. I'm going to be wearing my high heels. So y'all believe that I'm actually 6'5". Yes, we did get a haircut, my friend. I'm sorry, just trying to figure out what's going on. We know Josh Downs not going to be in play here. Tua not in play. Goff not in play. They don't even really have stacking options later on. Frymuth I'm less excited about. Honestly, I think we may take Eckler. I think we're going to take Eckler because all of a sudden, if you get Ayuk going over to Pittsburgh, I think Frymuth is even less exciting. So we'll see. We'll see. Mark says, just win Best Ball Mania 5 so our next meetup is free admission. Yes, I'm going to win Best Ball Mania 5. I'm going to win the $1.5 million. I'll buy the brewery that we're going to. And next year, I will say, screw the max capacity. If we get fined, we get fined. No tickets. We'll be good to go. And Jimothy, I have not played in the Superflex tournament. My plan as of now is to go through, do the 3 flock drafts tonight, maybe get in a poodle draft. If enough of y'all want me to hop in a Superflex, I definitely will. Just I personally prefer the one quarterback on Underdog over Superflex. But Reed says, I'll be there, about an hour drive, ticket already acquired. Y'all come on out. Appreciate you, my guys. Super happy to hang out with you. And yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, what's great about Austin is there are a ton of people in San Antonio, ton of people in Dallas, ton of people in Houston. If you're there, come out. And I was also, what's it called? And also because the ticket system is essentially only to be able to get a head count, if you end up booking a hotel because you're coming from out of town and you want somewhere to stay over the night, just send me a message, mason.@flockfantasy.com, that you got a hotel, some kind of confirmation, and I will go through and just comp whatever tickets you want. They'll be free because I'll know you're coming, of course. At this point, I have no idea what we should do. I think we're just going to go ahead. We will take Pat Frymuth as our second tight end. We'll call it a day and no longer draft any more of these guys. I definitely feel like this draft's gotten away from us where I'm not super excited about where it currently is. Trying to figure out where it got away from us is maybe tough. I think just when we were on the clock there with Austin Eckler, trying to figure out what we should be doing. Like the guys that go immediately after are Dotson, Charbonnet, Goff, Rico Dowdle, Josh Downs. I don't know. I was hoping that we were going to get a wide receiver that we liked, making it back to us on the way back around in the 12th. It just simply doesn't happen. I feel like over the past 3 rounds, or really over the past like 5 rounds, wide receiver has not been in play. Like if we wanted to go with the wide receiver in round 8, we would have had to take Joshua Palmer over Jalen Warren. In round 9, we would have had to go with Tyler Lockett over Dak Prescott. In round 10, we would have had to go Jerry Jeudy over Tajay Spears. Round 11, we would have had to go Jahan Dotson over Austin Eckler. And round 12, we would have had to go Xavier Legette over Pat Frymuth, which I don't necessarily know if I want to be making any of those decisions. So it's definitely an awkward spot. Aniki says, what's the best strategy for a Superflex? I would recommend on the Underdog Superflex, slam quarterbacks immediately. I think one thing that I can't just give you a 20-minute rundown on Superflex strategy right now. One thing that is worth pointing out, and a lot of people don't necessarily think about this in their Superflex leagues, is if you're playing in a 10-team Superflex league, there are going to be more than enough quarterbacks to go around for everybody. Everybody can roster 3 starters, and there will still be a couple extra, where teams will have 4. Whereas if you're playing in like a 12-team Superflex league, everybody's going to have 2 to 3. If you're playing in a 14-team, 16-team Superflex, it's going to be almost impossible to come away with quarterbacks. So the more teams that are in your league, the higher you should place a premium on quarterback, because the more scarcity there will be at the position. Now, we will go ahead. We will take Xavier Legette. Legette dealing with injuries. Sounds like he is buried on the depth chart for the time being, and it's a very bad offense. I didn't really like him as a prospect either, but ultimately, to get him as like your wide receiver 6 when he's a rookie that just got first-round NFL draft capital, I am kind of fine with it. And we still need to be looking for potential quarterbacks that we can take later. So we can go Legette here, and then we can also look for, say, Bryce Young later on, as gross as that is. Okay. Now let's move this over. Copy Paste State says, thoughts on Mingo and Marshall outplaying Legette so far? If Jonathan Mingo, like I said, I didn't like Xavier Legette as a prospect, but I thought Jonathan Mingo was also garbage, and Mingo proved to be garbage last season. I'd be very, very surprised if Legette does not have a large role this year, just based off him getting round 1 NFL draft capital. Like, no receiver in Carolina has nearly the investment that Legette does into him. So I think at this point, if you look at quarterbacks, there's Baker, there's Geno, and neither of them really correlate with this squad. So we're going to make a boring pick. We'll go ahead and we will take Michael Wilson. I know Greg Dortch is getting a decent amount of traction here, but sounds like really it's at the expense of like Zay Jones, where I think Michael Wilson has a pretty safe role in this offense. And in this kind of range of the draft, any wide receiver that's going to have a role, I'm completely fine with, which is obviously very different than your regular redraft league. Or in your regular redraft league, instead, you should try to be prioritizing guys that have massive ceilings than just having a role. Okay. Let's smooth this down. Yes, we are in the flock draft right now, my friend. And we'll hop in another flock draft after this one as well. Okay, Quentin Johnson goes 163. I was thinking earlier when we took Pat Frymuth that I was considering taking Justin Herbert and looking at Quentin Johnson later on. But I don't know how many times I can do that and just completely embarrass myself on this live stream. I don't know how many times I can. Wesley says, Niners asked the Steelers for 2 first-rounders. So I'm #TrustRicky. And Ricky tweeted out today that the Niners weren't getting a single first-round pick for Ayuk. I'll go ahead and I'll pull this up. Okay. Let's find Ricky. Where you at, my guy? Where are you at? I believe, Ricky tweeted out, the Niners will not be getting a first-round pick back in this trade. Steelers offered a first-round pick back in May. But I trust them. Isaiah says, top 5 quarterbacks in a 6-point passing touchdown league. 6-point passing TD league, going to be a little bit different than a 4-point one for me, just because passing volume can make up for the lack of rushing upside in that kind of format. Real quick, just thinking about it. So Russell Wilson was named as the starter here in Pittsburgh. They asked Tomlin about it, and he went, yep, that's Russ is the starter. Now, we do have Frymuth. I think you can make an argument that based off Fields' overall upside, just go ahead and take Justin Fields here regardless, which maybe is the thing to do. I think we're going to take Burton here at 175. I didn't draft a ton of him this offseason, but obviously this is a much cheaper price than he was previously. Sounds like he's not the favorite to win the wide receiver 3 job in Cincinnati for the time being, but at the same time, he is a rookie, right? So you are going to naturally expect that he expands his role as the season goes on. But anyway, looking at top 5 quarterbacks in a 6-point passing touchdown format. So I'm still going to have Josh Allen, QB1. Probably Jalen Hurts will still be QB2. But then I think I go Mahomes over Lamar if it's a 6-point passing touchdown league. I think we go Lamar QB4. And then in a 4-point passing touchdown format, I think you can go Richardson over Stroud. However, in a 6-point passing touchdown league, I'm going to go Stroud over Richardson. Okay. Now, Phoenix says, ideally, how many running backs and receivers would you roster in a full PPR format? 2, 3, 1 with 6 bench spots. I think it kind of depends on where you are drafting your top running backs. Like if you're going with a 0 RB build, I may want to take like 4 receivers and just load up as many running backs as I possibly can down there on the bench. So I definitely think it matters, like I said, where you are taking those guys. But in a start 3 wide receiver league, you can definitely afford to roster more receivers on your bench. I just really prefer to roster running backs on the bottom end of your bench going into the season that have uncertain roles, where if they were to have the role that you like, cool. It's pretty much I beat anybody else to them on the waiver wire. Whereas if they were to have a role that looks like absolutely garbage, you can cut them immediately for a waiver wire option in a league that only has a 6-player bench. So like Condre Miller is a great example of that, right? If you're looking at like Condre Miller versus Malachi Corley, who would you rather roster at the bottom end of your team? I'd make the argument that you should probably go with someone like Miller. Now, I'm going to take Will Levis here. Now, with Levis, we don't have too much correlation. We have Spears. But at this point, I think we're just looking at quarterback points, and we're probably going to have to take Young in the last round. Now, Nate Tano says, hey, Mason, both leagues are 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, 10-team format, and a 12-team league. What's the best way to draft if I go running back, receiver, wide receiver, running back in the first 2 rounds? Should we go with an elite quarterback and elite tight end or still hammer receivers? If it's a 2 wide receiver, single flex format, I think you are highly incentivized to wait on wide receiver. I think that there'll be more than enough wide receiver production to find later on, where I think you can get guys like Zay Jones, Tank Dell in rounds like 6 in those formats. So I would probably prefer to go with the elite quarterback and the elite tight ends. And hopefully the video that we made today explained that a little bit further. But Kevin, welcome to the flock, my guy. Brandon says, Dynasty, the 109 for Diggs. If it's super flex, give me the pick relatively easily. If it is a 1 quarterback format, I think it depends on your roster construction. And then Jacoby in the 309 for the 205. I'd prefer the 205 regardless if it's super flex or 1 QB. But Two Genders, longtime member of the flock, says, should a man be about to be executed in an electric safety at heart? I have no idea, my guy. I am here to answer questions regarding what will Pat Frymuth do this year? You just broke my brain. There's no way I can go down that road for you, my guy. I will give you a shout out, though. Profile pick, I believe that's from Greece. Now, here's something embarrassing about me. I have to say something embarrassing about me in every single one of these live streams. And real quick, what am I doing here? Let's go ahead and let's hop in another draft. I don't know why I'm waiting around to show y'all our round 17, round 18 selections. Let me get this loaded up on my phone now, just so I don't auto draft. But yeah, let's go ahead. We're going to hop in another flock tourney. Scroll all the way down on Underdog. Click the NFL. It's going to be near the end. $10 buy-in. Let's get in here, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, there are only 3 max entries. And last time we had this vlog tournament, it filled pretty much immediately, like within a few hours. But let me get back to embarrassing myself. That's what I'm best at. So, growing up, one of my favorite movies was Grease. And even now, whenever a musical comes out, I like them. I like musicals. Like, I'm sure some people in this live stream watched the new Wonka with Timothée Chalamet. And every other person that I'd ever talked to that watched it absolutely hated it. But to be honest with you, I was a fan. I liked it. I like musicals. I loved Grease. But anyway, Wingless Gaming says, should I focus on wide receiver in the early rounds in a non-PPR format where we start 3 receivers or try to lock in running backs and an elite quarterback in the early rounds? So we went through the math of this in the video that came out earlier today. If you're in a non-PPR format, you're highly incentivized to wait on receiver. I would definitely look for the elite level running backs and the elite quarterback. Okay. Yes, this is the flock contest. Segan says Wonka was fire. Not going to lie. Yeah, here's another embarrassing thing about me. I know everybody craps on Timothée Chalamet. He looks like a soy boy. He's really skinny, blah, blah, blah. Anytime I ever see him in a movie, I just go, oh my gosh, this guy's a great actor. I think Timothée Chalamet's a great actor. I loved him in Wonka. Okay. Now, CMC, bunch of receivers, Brees, and then I'm assuming Bijan goes at 8. Super standard start. We'll go ahead and we will take A.J. Brown at pick 9. Yeah, very, very standard start through the first 9 picks. Hopefully something gets weird here at the turn, or it's going to be difficult for us to have a unique build for this tournament. But Peter in this draft with us, hell yes, my God. Let me know where you are at. Trevor at pick 10, Jared pick 12, and yes, sadly, I am pick 9. I am always pick 9. Ronald's in here at pick 8. Ray didn't get an ours, but he got number 1 in another. Let's freaking go. Caleb in here at 2. Okay. Pete 101 another draft. Good luck, my friend. Good luck. Turtle in here at 5. I think this is my first time. Let me know, my guys. Is this your first time to type in the chat? I feel like I have a good sense of remembering everybody in the chat, but I don't remember you. Okay. So, going back, trying to figure out what I'm going to do at wide receiver, may end up going Jalen Hyatt. Actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to go Elijah. But anyway, so looking at what happens here at the 1-2 turn, Gibbs goes over Puka. I personally have been taking Wilson and Gibbs over Puka at this point. Achane off the board, so we will go ahead. We will go A.J. Brown, Drake, London here. Not a super unique start by any means. Now, what's interesting is, I mean, previously before the Puka knee injury, I was taking Puka ahead of Garrett Wilson and Gibbs, where a lot of smart people were taking Garrett Wilson ahead of Puka, and I didn't agree with it. But now I think post knee injury, you kind of have to go Wilson. So I've moved Puka behind Wilson and Gibbs. In underdog drafts, I pretty much have him exactly where he goes now. I think in your regular redraft league, if you wanted to take Taylor or Barkley over him, I wouldn't mind it. But we did get some pretty good news from Sean McVay earlier, where McVay came out and essentially guaranteed, like, oh yeah, he's good to go for Detroit. No worries. No worries. Which, I mean, was really nice to hear that he just wasn't stressing it at all, his week 1 availability. But, I mean, when in doubt, if they're already kind of in the same tier, and one player's dealing with an injury versus the other guy's not, I'm fine pivoting over to the other one. Happen says 10T PPR ESPN, 2 receiver, 1 flex, picking up the 10 spot. Should we double up on running back if one of the top 4 drop to me and get some wide receivers rounds 3 through 6, or take the best 2 talents available? If it is a 10-team league where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, here's how I'd rank the first 11 guys. The guys that you are automatically taking, an absolute no-brainer if they make it to you: CMC, Lamb, Tyreek, Chase, Jefferson, St. Brown, Brees, Bijan. In no particular order, if any of those guys make it to you at 10 or 11, they're auto picks. Now, the issue is, if they're already off the board and you're there at pick 10, and you're kind of deciding between A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Puka Nacua, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley. In a 10-team league where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, there I would rank them Jahmyr Gibbs, the top of that list. So Jahmyr Gibbs at 9 overall. Then A.J. Brown. Then, honestly, I think Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley are all in play. But the thing is, I'm just so confident that you're going to be able to crush your league mates at wide receiver in the middle rounds that I personally almost would just go running back. Pankaj says, been watching for a while, but my first message here. Can we have everybody coming out? If you've been watching for a while, but you have not sent a message in the chat, send that message. Say what's up. We're going to go ahead. We will take Michael Pittman Jr. here at pick 33. If you are looking at Pittman, like I discussed, I think out of this tier, you kind of have to give him the edge now that you are dealing with the Josh Downs injury. Josh Downs injured, so we're going to give a bump up to Pittman ever so slightly. Now, when we take Pittman, what's interesting is now all of a sudden Anthony Richardson becomes in play for us at the 5-6 turn. So possibly we're a little less excited to go through and take Jalen Hurts in round 4. I think it kind of depends. If we get a value that we like in round 4, I think we're going to go with said value. Whereas if it looks like a very standard area, I think we'll go Jalen Hurts instead. Okay. I'll smooth this. Nathaniel says, is this Flock Community Contest the same format as the first one? Yes, it is. So just to remind everybody, this tournament is going to be the highest scoring team out of the top 12 advanced to the playoffs. Then week 15, it's a head-to-head matchup, you against someone else. It's still best ball. You still don't submit your starting lineup. Week 16, same thing, head-to-head matchup against you and someone else. And then week 17, it's a 100-player pool. But let's see. We got a bunch of first message people out here. Thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Thank you for saying what's up. Thank you for saying what's up. Okay. Kazan says, I've sent super chats last year. Also in El Paso, but can't make the drive to Austin. Not going to blame you, my guy. That's an 8-hour drive. Not going to blame you at all. We're going to go Jalen Hurts. We'll just take Jalen Hurts, pair him up with A.J. Brown. Actually, I've been to El Paso a couple times. My girlfriend's from El Paso. El Paso, whenever you go up in the mountains at night and look down on the city, it's actually really pretty. But Red Falcon out here. Thank you for stopping by, my guy. But so if we would have had the opportunity to go like Sam Laporta at pick 40, I think we would have taken Laporta and just been fine with Anthony Richardson making it to us at 57. Or honestly, maybe seeing if Anthony Richardson could have made it to us at 64. But there's just no reason to roll the dice at that point. Okay. Now, of course, real quick, just in case you don't know what we're doing, this is the Flock tournament on Underdog Fantasy. Going forward, every Monday and Thursday night, we are going to have Flock tournaments. We still draft here in other tournaments every single night on the live stream, though. So if you wanted to join a Flock tournament with us, or you wanted to just join any draft with us on the live stream, or just a draft in public lobby, they're best ball drafts, so there's no time commitment at all during the year. It's how I draft hundreds of teams every year. It's how I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And of course, if you use code FLOCK when you sign up to Underdog, you will get my 2024 rankings, my 2024 draft guide. You will also get hooked up with a 50% deposit bonus up to $250 and an exclusive Flock special pick'em, more than less than half the total yard for Christian McCaffrey week 1 as well against the Jets. So make sure you take advantage of that. You do just need to be in one of these states if you want to draft on Underdog, though, but you can see the map there. Okay. Now, let's move it over. AK says, would you call pick 9 the worst? I think pick 9's the worst if one of the top 8 guys don't fall to you. I don't cry as much about pick 8 now as I used to at the beginning of the offseason. Because at the beginning of the offseason, essentially none of those top 8 players would ever fall to pick 9. But now they do every once in a while, so it's kind of whatever. Now, Cordy says, how would you approach a 12-team, 2 quarterback, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 2 flex PPR league? I'm at the 10 spot. Should I try to take a wide receiver and running back in the first 2 rounds? No, not if it's a 2 quarterback format. I mean, if it's a 2 QB format, I definitely think I want to take an elite quarterback if you get the opportunity to. Justin says, did you say you would cover the tickets if we show up and got a hotel for the meetup? 100%. So like I said, the only reason we're doing tickets for the meetup is I need to tell the venue how many people are coming. So if you get a hotel and you send me an email, mason.dodd@flockfantasy.com, and you say, hey, Mason, I'm coming to the meetup. Here's a hotel confirmation. I need 2 tickets. Then, yeah, I'll just save you 2 tickets. I'll put your name down on the list because I'll know you're coming, obviously, if I got a hotel for it. So Richardson goes at pick 54, which is interesting. So we wouldn't even get the opportunity here. We're going to take Keenan Allen over Hollywood Brown. I'm just not a Hollywood guy. I think if you look at the advanced analytics for Hollywood, even if it's a much better situation this year, it just kind of looks washed. Like I'm just not interested. Okay. Alan says, I live in Austin, would be coming, but I'll be out of town that weekend. You'll be out of town on Thursday, my guy? It's on a Thursday. Come on. Come on. Okay. Now, Kyle Pitts off the board at pick 58. Rashad White goes 59. Let's move this over. So right now, I mean, we've gone with a prototypical 0 RB build where we have Jalen Hurts at quarterback paired up with A.J. Brown. We also have Drake London, Michael Pittman Jr., and Keenan Allen. I was going to get a little unique here and take Kenneth Walker at 64 if Kenneth Walker was going to make it to us. Now, it's a little bit of an awkward spot. Now, of course, at the 7-8 turn, there are a bunch of running backs that are interesting. So it's not a big deal at all if we decide to go with another wide receiver here. Just go running back in rounds 7 and 8. And with Xavier Worthy going off the board, honestly, I think we're going to try to do just that. I think we're going to go ahead and take Chris Godwin here. I definitely would not have this strategy in your regular redraft league, however, just because in your regular redraft league, the running backs that are going to be available in the late 7th, early 8th round are probably going to be much worse than the wide receivers will be. But on Underdog, it's kind of flipped where the running backs that are available in rounds 7 and 8 are much better than the wide receivers are in that range. So I'm fine putting myself in a position where we kind of have to take the running backs there in this kind of league. Okay. Getter just says, hey, Mason, if I get a hotel room in the area, is there a way you could cop my ticket? 100%. Like I said, if y'all get a hotel room in the area, just shoot me like a hotel confirmation as soon as you get it. And then I'll send me your name, send me how many tickets you want, whether it's 1 ticket, 2 tickets. I don't know if you're coming with a friend. Don't know if you're coming with a significant other. But I already had someone that got a hotel in the area and sent me an email. That was Antler Ice. I saw him out in the live chat earlier. But yeah, he sent me an email saying, oh, hey, I got, we're doing a road trip. We're stopping by Austin. Got a hotel, coming to the meetup. Send me 2 tickets. So yeah, I have his name down for 2 tickets. And Alan says, what daytime is the meetup? Could have sworn it was 8:24. No, it is the 22nd, my friend. Here is the meetup info. Austin, Texas, August 22nd, Thursday at 6:30 p.m. If you want to get a ticket, flockfantasy.store. But should be a ton of fun. Like I said, I'll be there. Guys at Fantasy Domain will be there. Fantasy Land will be there. Fantasy Stock Exchange will be there. I think Sal Vetri will be there. And obviously, a lot of other people who really like fantasy football and want to hang out. So let's move this over. So Montgomery off the board at 77. Like I discussed, I think we kind of put ourselves in a position where we're most likely wanting to go running back. And Antler Eyes, hell yes, out here. But Alan says the Land Bros are flying in from Australia. Yes, I got... I'm flying out the land guys. I'm flying out the FSC guys. I'm flying out the domain guys. I'm flying out the developers of flockfantasy.com. The editor to the channel. Should be a ton of fun. It's going to be like a big Flock draft week. I got us a massive Airbnb. The Airbnb is like a basketball court, has pickleball court, has a pool. We're going to do a bunch of live streams, a bunch of videos, hired like a videographer. It's going to be like a super big Flock draft week, which is going to be a ton of fun. And it all ends with the meetup on the 22nd. Okay. Caleb says, when will the Flock League start having content come out? Relatively soon, my friend. Relatively soon. Okay, so we go Aaron Jones, pick 81. Like I discussed, we're pretty committed when we go Chris Godwin in the last round to go running back here at the 7-8 turn, which I'm pretty confident we're going to get a couple running backs that we like. And Aaron Jones is one of those guys. I mean, I am not in love with Aaron Jones, but Aaron Jones versus Curtis Samuel, yeah, I'll take Aaron Jones there. Aaron Jones definitely kind of does look washed. He's going to be in a worse offense this year, but it is what it is. He can catch the ball. It doesn't have a ton of competition in this backfield, and maybe see some positive touchdown regression compared to what he had a year ago. Najee goes at 88. So we'll go ahead. We'll take Zamir White. Zamir looks like the starter on paper. The issue with Zamir White is it's going to be a very bad offense, and he probably doesn't catch the ball. So I don't necessarily know what the true ceiling is. But kind of we just need to lock in some gross running back volume here, which is what I think Zamir does for us. But Logan says, 10-team PPR, Mixon or Cook? Cook has the easier playoffs. I'm probably going to go James Cook. My God, I'm not necessarily too worried about playoff schedules right now, just because I think it's so hard to project out what any of these guys are going to be doing week 1. If we're trying to project out how matchups are going to look for weeks 15, 16, 17, I think we're kind of fooling ourselves. So I'm going to go ahead. I will take James Cook. He's younger, and I honestly expect Buffalo to be at a better offense than Houston this year as well. Okay. Jack from the 2 says Zamir over Mostert. Yeah, I'm just afraid that you're going to have Mostert competing with both Achane as well as Jalen Wright, who gets out of the backfield. And Mostert's going into his age 32 season as well. Now, also, this is coming from the same guy that said last year, Raheem Mostert's a 31-year-old running back that's had one game in his NFL career with 20 or more touches that doesn't catch the ball. I don't want him. And then he led the NFL in rushing touchdowns. So should you listen to me? No, but yeah, we are going to go with Zamir over Mostert. Okay. Greg says Mason's flying at the Island Boys on the 22nd if he gets 1,000 likes on this video. Okay, I honestly didn't want to bring this up, but I can't lie to y'all any longer. The Island Boys are actually my little brothers. We grew up together for a very long time. Whenever I was 18, I went to college. I thought I left them in a good spot. I came back from college break. I got home for Christmas and started noticing. I was like, "Oh, y'all have a bunch of y'all getting tatted up." And at first, it was just like a cool thing, right? It wasn't like a big deal, but it just kept going and kept going and kept going. I went back to school the second semester, got home for the summer, and then they started doing like weird things with their hair. And I was like, okay, this isn't necessarily my style. I don't want to tell them anything. I tried talking to my parents about it. My parents were getting scared of them. And yeah, eventually they had to send him to my aunt's, hoping that my aunt was going to be able to help him. But really, we were just never able to get him back on track. And since then, they won't even talk to me, to be honest, which is just really frustrating. I've tried reaching out and helping them, but it's hard to get hold of them. Okay. Yes, I mean, when the song went viral, I'm an Island Boy, I reached out to them saying, hey, guys, we kind of grew up in San Antonio. Don't know why we're saying we're Island Boys, but it is what it is. Now, Nate Tano says, another one in a redraft, 10-team or 12-team. Say I go Brees and HN falls. Do I take him? Bijan or Gibbs round 1, running back round 1 or 2. Yeah, so if you go like Brees at the very beginning of round 1, and then at the 2-3 turn you get Achane, and it's the league running start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, and Achane's the best running back, I wouldn't mind at all if you go ahead and you take Achane. I mean, I recently did a mock draft with Fantasy Pros, and I went Lamb round 1, Allen, and Achane at the 2-3 turn. Okay. So we went Pollard in the last round, the co-starting running back with Mr. Tajee Spears. And we're going to go with another co-starting running back with Brian Robinson here at pick 112. And yeah, so here's what we did in this draft. We grabbed the elite quarterback. We took wide receivers with high ceilings early. And then we are just taking a bunch of these gross running backs that project to see volume, where typically these guys have been historically significantly overdrafted when they're going there in rounds 4, 5, 6. But I'm okay with them in rounds 7, 8, 9, 10. So, yeah, we're trying to catch up at running back. I think we're doing an okay job with it. Okay. Let's move this over. Dallas Goedert goes 113. Then you have Wicks, Cooks, Javonte, Blake Corum. So, I mean, obviously, Goddard could have been in play for us. We have no tight ends. We have Jalen Hurts as well, so we could go with Hurts, A.J. Brown, Goddard for the Philly double stack, which maybe honestly should be the thing that we're doing. I just don't know. A-Rod says, what's the DK news? I haven't seen anything with DK Metcalf. Let me go ahead and pull this up. DK Metcalf ripped a teammate's helmet off and swung it at his head. Ooh. Yeah, there's like a little viral clip in the back of an interview. It's like literally half a second. But it just looked like a practice fight. I'm sure it's going to be nothing. Like it has literally zero fantasy football impact. Canaria says DK just doing DK things. Not that I see here. Has DK gotten in trouble for fighting before? Maybe I'm just an idiot here and can't remember, but I can't think of anything. I can't think of any other instance with DK Metcalf. Is there anything that I'm not thinking about? We're going to go ahead. We're going to take 80 Mitchell at 129. With Zeke, it does sound like he's losing some steam to Rico Dowdle, actually. And we will just bump up Mitchell, pair him with Michael Pittman Jr., and say, oh, what happens if Josh Downs is seriously injured? And yeah, it looks like Dowdle actually flips ahead of Ezekiel Elliott in this draft. So yeah, that steam with Dowdle is happening. Okay. King Rube says DK has always been a hothead. I can't remember. Yeah, I guess I do live under a rock. I can't. Who else has DK fought? Hartnell says DK just eats candy all day and benches 525. Basically just like Mason. If he bulks up a little bit more, he will be just like me one day. Nick says, do you watch football, bro? I need to look this up. DK Metcalf fight history. Every DK Metcalf fight. I'm watching this. Don't y'all worry. I'm educating myself here. Okay, so Cousins off the board. At this point, I think we can do a couple different things. I will take the falling value in Ezekiel Elliott. Like I said, it does seem like Zeke's kind of losing out on some ground to Rico Dowdle if you follow training camp right now. But I don't know. Yeah, getting him here's 14 picks past ADP. Maybe wrong. Okay, so I'm watching this little compilation of every DK Metcalf fight. Shoves the Cincinnati corner. Shoves. Oh, yeah. So looks like DK Metcalf doesn't actually fight. Looks like he just pushes guys in the back when they're walking away. Yeah, when they're all back-to-back, I guess there seems like a lot. Never mind. But Edward says, drafted today, 12-team full PBR. We have Kyler, Hall, Connor, Moore, Njoku, DK, McLaurin as starters. So looking at this, how we have the elite quarterback, we have Kyler, Marv paired up. Full PPR, I like going a little bit heavier wide receiver there for the flex. Looks like we were able to get the elite running back, Hall, mid-round 1, Marv, mid-round 2, DJ Moore, mid-round 3, which, since it's a double flex, full PPR format, I do like. Zach says, yeah, it's just chippy as hell. Yeah, it doesn't look like, off the videos I saw, it didn't look like there were really many DK Metcalf fights. Look like it was, oh, hey, the defender's walking away. Let me go shove him. J Crunch Fitness says, Mason Dodd calls DK Metcalf a coward. Printed, yes. DK, this fantasy football drafter over here thinks he's tougher than you. What you going to do about it? Austin, Texas, August 22nd. See you at the meetup. Okay. Let's move this over. Now, what are we doing here? I definitely think we can go with 6 RBs. We're going to go ahead. We will take the riser in J.K. Dobbins. Sounds like Dobbins and Gus Edwards are kind of battling it out for the running back 1 role right now. Vidal's just simply not in the mix at all. Now, of course, Vidal is also a rookie running back. That was a day 3 NFL draft pick that's just kind of fighting to make the roster. But when we wait till round 7 to grab our first running back, fine taking 6. I'm kind of fine spazzing all these guys where we do. So let's take him. Okay. Bean South says, Mason, who do you think the Ricky guy is who is leaking all the info? Such a good question. How? I was going to say something dumb. There's no way. I saw one theory that he's just like an NFL agent. He's just an agent that represents a bunch of players. That is a good question. Who do y'all think the Ricky guys? I'm sure y'all know what this is referring to. I showed him in the live stream where we were trying to keep up with the Brandon Ayuk news. Who do y'all think the Ricky guy is that leaks all of the info regarding this stuff? We're going to go ahead, take Demario Douglas. Actually, do we want to take Douglas? We'll take Demario Douglas and then go with Drake May at the end. Okay. John, I actually used to go to the factory gym for a couple months whenever I lived at my old apartment because it was a little closer. But whenever I moved, it was further away. So it's like too far to go there now. But I thought it was in Kyle. Unless I'm mistaken. But Drybiz says it's a Steelers intern. The thing is, this Ricky guy's been leaking stuff all offseason. He's been leaking stuff for a while now. It's not just the Ayuk. Russian agent, it's Ayuk. Roger Goodell's burner, Arthur Smith. Notary for the league. ACRR says it's me. That'd be hilarious. Yeah, sticky Ricky. Okay. And real quick, of course, if y'all wanted another draft, make sure you go down there, hit that like button. If we hit 500 likes, we'll fire up another draft after this one. Eric says, pick 14 in a 14-team ESPN league. Ended up with a lot of Kyron Pook at the turn in mocks. Is this solid enough for that spot, or should we be pivoting? I think it is, and I really do like the idea of going wide receiver running back there at the turn, just because in that 14-team league, if you're picking at the turn exactly, you're not going to have another selection for another 27 picks, so you may have a run of running backs that get away from you. So it could be tough. Could be tough. Okay. John says, Buda and Kyle's blowing up. It's just so freaking crazy that, like, obviously Austin got like a massive boom from COVID, but still, it's anywhere you drive. Like I went and played pickleball with Sal earlier, like literally an hour or two ago, right before I got back from pickleball and started up this live stream. And we were playing in like off South Lamar. It just, you drive through the neighborhoods there. Every other house is like one of the McMansions from them tearing down a different home. It's like, how are people still going to be moving here? Okay. So let's move this over. Malachi Corley off the board. So at this point, trying to figure out what we are going to do at quarterback is a little awkward. Like I said, I think we can go Drake May, but we're kind of in a spot where we do need some tight ends. We're sitting here with total of 0 tight ends. We're going to take 3 of these guys, but we'll see. John says, Austin, new Comedy City. I freaking love stand-up comedy. That's like my favorite thing that my girlfriend and I go do. She was like, stand-up comedy is such a perfect date night because you can go grab dinner, especially like if you see a show at like 7:30. We can go to a happy hour. Even though I don't drink, I love hitting up happy hours because they always have great food deals. And my girlfriend drinks, so she can get a couple drinks. I can get some great food deals. We can walk from the happy hour downtown to a comedy show at like 7. Have a ton of fun at a comedy show from like 7 to 10. Get back home at a reasonable time. Walk the dog. Go to bed. It's not super late. Doesn't ruin my day the next day. It's like the freaking best. I think stand-up comedy, a dinner / happy hour, and a stand-up comedy show right after, especially for the price too. Like at least in Austin, they're cheap. It's like the best, in my mind, top tier date night. I don't think you can beat it. Okay. Tresner says Shane Gillis is the best right now, hands down. The first time I saw Shane Gillis, I think was 2021. And since then, my girlfriend and I have seen Shane Gillis probably 4 or 5 times. And we've seen Matt McCusker, which is the guy who does his podcast with, I think 3 or 4 times. But the first time we saw him, he was super nice, and we got to talk to him after the show. He took pictures with us. He was really nice. We've never got to hang out after and take pictures with Shane, though. And now with how big Shane is, I doubt that will ever be the case. Okay. We're going to go ahead. We will take Jonnu Smith, 184. Jonnu, not great news. Sounds like he is kind of cycling in and out with Smythe here for the tight end job in Miami. In my mind, he's still kind of the favorite to get it, but we just need to take 3 tight ends. We need to take another quarterback. So here at the end of this draft, we're probably going to go ahead. We're going to take Drake May, and we're going to take another tight end. But ultimately, we just really are relying on Jalen Hurts, obviously, with the squad. But let me show this team off. Not the best team, definitely a weird team, but hopefully we can make the next one better. We are going to hop in another flock draft here, ladies and gentlemen. So like I said, Underdog has a bunch of new tournaments today. They dropped the Superflex Pomeranian. This is like a $3 buy-in Superflex tournament. I know a lot of people have been asking us for Superflex. I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan. There's the Flock Community Contest 2. There's also the Poodle, which I think if we do another draft after this one, we will do that one. But we're going to get in another Flock tournament. This is a $10 buy-in, but this is the last tournament that we can do, at least for the Flock one this time. The last draft we can do for this tournament, just because it's a 3 max entry. Okay. Let's move this over. I don't know why I keep saying that. And yes, if we hit 600 likes, we will fire up another draft. I'm sorry, 800 likes, we'll fire up another draft after this. And let's see. Riz says Cat Williams is a classic. Now, I don't know. This is also probably I'm going to embarrass myself a ton here. I did not know who Cat Williams was. Like, once I learned who he was, I know I had seen him in a couple movies. But I did not know who Cat Williams was until he blew up with the Shannon Sharp podcast. Like, I had no idea. So here's what I'm going to do in underdog drafts going forward. In underdog drafts in particular, I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb over Christian McCaffrey. In your redraft league, where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to take CMC still. But specifically on underdog, where running back's very easy to come by, wide receiver isn't, there I'm going to go ahead. I will take Lamb. But Cameron says, should I trade or keep DK in my dynasty? Personally, I think DK is a little overvalued. I would look to sell him. Let's move this over. Basement says, thoughts on Casey Rocket, Mason. So I saw Casey Rocket at the mothership, trying to figure out who we're taking to the other draft. Drake May's already gone, so we're going to have to pivot to another quarterback. We're just going to take Bryce Young. Who cares? But I saw Casey Rocket at the mothership before I ever knew who he was. And it was like in the small room at the mothership, which is Rogan's Club. And my girlfriend and I were sitting front row. This was a show that we saw like Tony Hinchcliffe. We saw David Lucas. We actually saw Shane Gillis this show as well, unless I'm mistaken. I'm almost 100% certain that we did. And we actually did because we had just saw him like a month before. So we used all the same jokes. They were the ones that went on his Netflix special. So like when we saw him that time, since it was all the same jokes, it wasn't that good. But I'd never known who Casey Rocket was. He came out on stage. I thought it was I had never seen anything like it. And I thought it was the funniest thing ever. Like, I'm sure seeing it again probably wouldn't be as good, but when you weren't expecting it, it was crazy. Okay. But yeah, after we take Lamb, I think we do give ourselves the ability to go running back there at the 2-3 turn, depending on who is there for us. Okay. And yeah, I don't watch Kill Tony as much anymore as I used to. But Casey Rocket's for sure not as funny when you're not there in person. When you're there in person, especially if you're not expecting it, it is, in my mind, like I literally went up to him after the show because he was like unlocking all our phones and stuff. And I told him, I was like, man, that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I was like, I can't. I was dying. Okay. So HN goes 18. HN has been rising up these draft boards. I mean, you saw him go at the beginning of the second round in the draft that we did right before this. What's kind of crazy with HN is if you look at his underdog price, he's a lot more expensive on underdog than he is in your regular redraft leagues. If you use like the 2024 ADP consensus cheat sheet that we have. Whereas typically pretty much every other running back is much more expensive in regular redraft leagues and much cheaper on underdog. Like HN's like the one exception to that rule. Okay. Now, Chris Olave goes 21. Olave has definitely been a faller as of late. Crazy Marley, we were in a draft with them a few days ago, I want to say. Here at 22, let's see what they decide to do. Go Saquon Barkley. I was really hoping they were going to pass on Barkley because I didn't expect the CMC team to take Barkley. So that if they passed on Barkley, we would get Barkley at pick 24. I mean, it is what it is, right? We're not going to sit here and cry about it. Kyron Williams goes, I was actually planning on going Kyron here at the 2-3 turn. I'm trying to have a unique start. I definitely think that Jalen Waddle, CeeDee Lamb, that's going to be a nice pairing to have. Outside of that, I don't particularly know what we're wanting to do. We may just take Ayuk with him and we'll figure it out. I was planning on going Kyron Waddle. kind of threw me off just a bit. But we should have a ton of running backs that we like later. The issue is I also really like getting the elite quarterback and the elite tight ends at the 4-5 turn in these underdog drafts, which obviously would still open the door for us when we lock ourselves in to the elite wide receivers at the very top. But we do have a bunch of different options that we could be working with here. But dear God, we have 1,000 people out here watching this. Thank you so much for everybody stopping by and hanging out with us. I have no idea. Like, it seems completely random how many people decide to come out. I guess it's honestly, you know what it is? And I knew this was going to happen. Here's where I need to check Twitter. We're probably trending because I got a haircut. Please let me know in the live chat. Did your friends send you this live stream saying, oh my gosh, check out this guy's haircut? Look at how good he looks. I'm assuming that's what happened, and that's why so many people are here tonight. But thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, you can see it. Here's the 360 view. Went to the barber, went, all right, got a tall task. Make me look like this hairline is not going back 5 yards into my head. But I guess I need to check Twitter. I'm assuming we're trending because of this. Sponsored by Supercuts. Okay. Now, or it's the Flock tournament. One or another. Now, Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce going off 35, 36. I actually thought about mixing in Laporta there at pick 25 and just having a really unique combo of Lamb, Waddle, Laporta. But I kind of chickened out, to be honest with you. Yeah, if I'm going to be completely honest, I chickened out. And I was fine mixing in Laporta at the beginning of the offseason at the 2-3 turn. The reason that I don't do it, even if it's unique anymore, is that it kind of locks you out of taking Andrews, Kincaid, McBride at the 4-5 turn. And in my mind, they are the best values there, and I want to continue to take them. So it does put us in a tough spot here if you take Laporta there at 25, and then all of a sudden you really like Andrews and Lamar at 48, 49. Now, Cole says 12-team PPR, 109. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Only able to start 2 running backs versus 3 receivers. So the flex is a wide receiver tight end. How does this affect the build of the team? No required tight end spot, just the flex. What's the impact? Thinking A.J. Brown at 9, Kyron at the 204. Is it crazy to take Achane over Harrison if no Kyron? Couple different things. One, I want to point out that you are only starting a total of 6 players in this lineup. This is going to be an extremely shallow lineup where quarterback is going to make up a crazy high percentage of your starting lineup output from a week-to-week perspective. You need, and I mean you need, an elite level quarterback with this team and with these settings. Beyond that, I do think that you should be honestly not really bumping up the value of wide receiver that much because you can still only start 3. It's just a very shallow lineup overall. I would say you effectively almost don't even want to be taking any tight ends unless you can get Laporta, Kelce in one of the last few rounds. Just slam a couple running backs early, get an elite quarterback, and then take a bunch of receivers in the middle rounds. And then don't even take a tight end at all. Ronald says, is there another Flock tournament dropping tomorrow? I think that there should be if we're going to take Etienne Andrews. This is exactly why we go with Waddle Ayuk at the 2-3 turn, so we can specifically put ourselves in a position where we're allowed to go Etienne and Andrews at 48, 49. But yeah, I'd imagine that there will be another Flock tournament tomorrow. Maybe if this one doesn't fill as quick as the last one did, maybe instead they decide to push the Flock tournament to drop on Friday instead. Augusta says, Mason, why no slow timer on Flock tournament? I don't know, my friend. I'll ask. If y'all really want the slow timer for the Flock tournament, I can ask for that as well. I think we're probably getting close to the start of the year, and I don't know how many slow tourney options you're going to be going with. Okay, so Jacobs off 52. I've taken a ton of Josh Jacobs in round 5. Like I said, pretty much my hot take this year is I think Jacobs outscores Derrick Henry. And Josh Jacobs got some great press coming out of Green Bay this week where they're essentially confirming, yeah, this is going to be the guy that has a bunch of usage on third down, which it was a takeaway that we had back whenever this coaching staff came out and said, yeah, Marshawn Lloyd's kind of behind the curve on what you'd expect, dealt with an injury. A.J. Dillon's the RB2. And once you learn A.J. Dillon's the RB2, it's like, okay, A.J. Dillon's not a better pass catcher than Josh Jacobs. Sounds like Jacobs is the third down guy. So I love Josh Jacobs at round 5. Obviously, in your regular redraft league, it's going to be a little more expensive. In your regular redraft league, you'd have to take Derrick Henry round 2. You'd have to take Josh Jacobs in round 4. But I'd still love to get Josh Jacobs in round 4 if you play in a league where you're going to start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Okay. Now, Rice goes 54. Rice continuing to rise up. Do not blame anybody for taking him there. AK says, hot take, Henry outscores Bijan. Do you mind letting me know what scoring format you're referring to? Do you think Henry outscores Bijan in PPR, non-PPR, or half PPR? As if Henry outscores Bijan in a full PPR format this year, with how little I've drafted Derrick Henry, I'm telling you right now, I am in serious, serious, serious trouble. Pablo says, what website or program is he using? We are drafting on Underdog Fantasy, my friend. These are best ball drafts. So there's no time commitment at all during the season. It's how I draft hundreds of teams every year. It's how I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And yeah, of course, if you wanted to join draft with us, we're doing this every single night in the live stream. You don't have to join draft with me. You can just do it on your own as well. If you're wanting, it's great practice for your main drafts. And yeah, we're actually having flock tournaments every Monday and Thursday night until the season starts as well. And if you use code FLOCK when you sign up to Underdog with the link in either the description, comment section, or live chat, you'll get my 2024 rankings. You'll get my 2024 draft guide. You'll get a 2024 ADP consensus cheat sheet. Should help you exactly where you're drafting this year. All of which will be updated every single Sunday for you if you use code FLOCK through your email. And you also get a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. And since we signed a 3-year extension with Underdog this year, they're actually hooking everybody up that uses code FLOCK or has ever used code FLOCK with a Christian McCaffrey special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. You do need to be in one of these states, however, if you want to draft on Underdog. You can see the map here. Good news is it is available in pretty much every state. Okay. Now, Bo says, what do you think about drafting double RBs in the first 2 rounds? As long as you're not forcing it, I think it's a really strong play. Like, as long as you're not taking Jahmyr Gibbs over Tyreek Hill, go for it. But going back to what we were talking about previously with the video earlier today, I highly, highly, highly recommend, and y'all know I don't really say this that often in live streams, so please trust me when I say it right now. I think the video that we put out earlier today on this channel is probably one of the best and most useful fantasy football videos that you will watch all season in terms of crafting an exact league strategy for your exact league settings. So I highly recommend you watching the video from earlier today, my friend, and applying your league settings and coming up with a league strategy yourself. But Marvin says 10-team full PPR, keep CMC and lose a first, Bijan and lose a second, or Puka and keep all picks. I get to choose draft position as well. I'd probably take the 101, keep Bijan, and lose the 210. That's what I would do, my friend. Jaden Reed makes it all the way down to 70, dealing with his calf injury. What's the Christian Watson news? Downplays practice injury. So we will take Rome here, especially where we're trying to optimize for weeks 15, 16, 17. After we take Rome, it's a little bit of an awkward spot. I personally think I'm going to be going with Kamara over David Montgomery for the time being, just because I'm a little bit worried that Jahmyr Gibbs turns into prime Alvin Kamara, prime Aaron Jones, prime Austin Eckler, where he's also having the red zone usage on top of everything as a receiver. Now, Samir says that in ESPN, if Harrison is drafted before me in round 2, should we go Adam or London with my first pick if my first pick is St. Brown? I personally will go Drake London over Devontae Adams. Adams has declined for 3 straight seasons. And also Devontae Adams should project out being one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Unless you think Adams may get traded. Cooper says 14-team PPR, super flex, 3 wide receivers, 2 flex. Realistically, how much does this push up quarterback? Do quarterbacks go in the first, or do wide receivers get boosted up so much that it's basically normal ADP? If it is a 14-team super flex format, my friend, if everybody wants to roster 3 quarterbacks, there are going to be a few teams that are stuck with only 1, and it's going to be extremely hard to go through and trade for them based off of supply and demand. So quarterbacks will for sure go in round 1. If you have a late first and no quarterbacks go in round 1, I highly recommend you going Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts at the 1-2 turn, and then letting your league mates play it out over the next 28 picks. But yes, that is the exact kind of format where if you can start 5 wide receivers in a full PPR format and you have the super flex spot, you're probably very much incentivized to go 0 running back, slam quarterbacks and wide receivers early. Now, Dr. Balls Insider says, hey, Mason, glad it's almost that time again. 12-team PPR redraft. I need 1 keeper. Options are CMC for a first, Lamb or a first, or Wilson for an 8th. This is actually a pretty tough spot, my friend. Usually whenever it's a keeper situation, we just say, oh, keep the best player. Can you let me know how many keepers you have, my friend? Doctor, let me know how many keepers that everybody keeps across the entire league. So does everybody only keep 1 guy? So that will be very important. Zmod says, loving your build right now, Mason. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, right now we are sitting at wide receiver with Lamb, Waddle, Ayuk, Rome. And running back, we have Etienne, Kamara. Tight end, we have Andrews. So Dr. Ball says only 1 keeper per team. So if we're looking at, say, a keeper in the first round, effectively that first round pick, if everybody's keeping 1 player, is a second rounder, right? So we need to ask, and then we're not going to be worried about an 8th round pick. An 8th round pick in a keeper league is not really worth much. So essentially we need to ask, would you rather have Garrett Wilson in a second round pick or Christian McCaffrey? Garrett Wilson in a second round pick or CeeDee Lamb? So if we look at the guys that go in the second round of this draft that you could possibly expect to go in the second round of your draft, Kyren Williams is a great example, right? Would you rather have Kyren Williams and Garrett Wilson, or would you rather have Christian McCaffrey? And I know maybe Kyren Williams is going to be keeper in your league because I'm sure the cost is extremely low, but it's not about the exact players. It's more so figuring out the value and the opportunity cost by keeping that guy in round 1. So, I mean, we'll go through and crowdsource this, see if we can figure it out, but can everybody spam the chat? Because I think this will help answer the question. Would you rather have Christian McCaffrey or Kyren Williams and Garrett Wilson? Please spam the chat. We have 1,000 people out here. If we can get like 500 messages, that would be awesome. I think it would help out everybody a ton. Would you rather have Kyren Williams and Garrett Wilson or Christian McCaffrey? Okay, so Kyren Wilson, CMC, Kyren, CMC, Kyren, Kyren. It does seem like it's split a damn near 50-50, my guy. So really, I do think it's up to you. If it's a league where you can start, say, 4 or 5 receivers per week, including the flex spots, and it's a full PPR format, I probably go Lamb over CMC. If it's a league where you're going to start 2 wide receivers in 1 flex, I probably prefer CMC over Lamb. So yeah, I do think it's pretty even. And hopefully we are at least able to give clarity on CMC versus CeeDee Lamb. And I think it kind of comes down to your format. Like here on Underdog, I think based off the CMC calf strain, I go CeeDee Lamb. But if you only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, I'm going to go CMC. Okay, so it's probably not a surprise to anybody here. The primary play that we're going to have is Dak Prescott at the 8-9 turn to pair up with CeeDee Lamb. It's pretty much what everybody does, right? It's not like I'm reinventing the wheel. It's not like I've come up with some secret magic that nobody else understands. So I think the pick will be Dak Prescott here at 96. Now, the question of what we're going to do at 97 is going to be a little bit more interesting. So if we look at the potential options that we could have later on at quarterback, we'll have Tua, we'll have Caleb. So I'm not panicking of what we're going to have at quarterback later. I don't necessarily think we really need a wide receiver here in Courtland Sutton. I think we can go a couple different spots. Could kind of go with the pseudo bully tight ends, take Dak Prescott and take David Njoku. The thing is, I do think that David Njoku can actually outscore Courtland Sutton this year. Njoku last year scored 160 points. Sutton last year scored 160. It's actually hilarious. He scored 160.7, both exactly the same. I think we're going to go with Njoku. Pair him up with Andrews. Will be done at tight end. Obviously, in your regular redraft league, once you take Andrews, it's something I probably need to do a better job explaining, especially as we have new people coming in. But in your regular redraft league, if you grab yourself an elite tight end like Andrews, Kincaid, Kelsey, Laporta, regardless of whoever it is, I highly recommend you only going through and taking one tight end and not drafting another. Just specifically in best ball, it's going to be a spot where you are more so incentivized to go out there and grab, at least with the math historically, another capable tight ends, because who knows, maybe there's a random week where Njoku scores 2 touchdowns that we weren't expecting, and because it's best ball, he automatically slides into our starting lineup. Derek says, I'm curious, what's your exposure to St. Brown? I've yet to see you draft him. Outside of Gibbs, seems like you're not huge on the Lions. My guy, you've missed a lot of streams. I think Sam Laporta is he's not my most drafted player. He's inside the top 5. I have a lot of the Lions because they project out to be the second highest scoring offense this year. I have 18% Laporta, 12% Goff, 11% St. Brown, 9% Gibbs, 8% Jameson, 6% Montgomery. So the only guy that I'm underweight with this Detroit Lions offense is David Montgomery, the only one. Okay. Now, love Sutton, Moss, Chase Brown, Lockett, all off. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't super high on the Lions last year, but the sportsbook's projections are also a lot higher on the Lions this year than they were last year. Okay. Logan says, is UT Austin nice? Also, what was your major? So I was at UT Austin for 4 years. I got 2 degrees. I got a degree in biology and a degree in exercise science. I was going to go to medical school until YouTube kind of happened. So I thought having 2 degrees would make me stand out. And also, I really like working out. Like, I did an Ironman. I was on the powerlifting team at UT. So I was like, oh, exercise science could be fun. But UT Austin was awesome. I was from like a smaller suburb in Texas. So it was definitely different than what I was used to, living in a major city and being able to walk everywhere. UT Austin, I would highly recommend anybody going there. The thing is, nobody's going to hold your hand. You're going to sink or swim yourself, which personally I think is kind of what a lot of people need. So I highly recommend it. It's a super competitive school as well, which I think is also really good. Like a bunch of my friends a bunch of people I was friends with in my time in college, super successful people. Like one of my friends just got done having Mark Zuckerberg on his podcast from college. Like the guy I would go to the gym with all the time. So you meet cool people just because it's a place where a lot of smart people go. So I highly recommend UT Austin. Just understand, you're definitely going to sink or swim. And if you work hard, you'll swim. But it's not going to be a school that's very forgiving. I also knew a bunch of people who flunked out. Dr. Ball says, I just moved to Austin last month from New Hampshire. My guy, you better be going to the Flock meetup. Okay. If you're here, you just expose yourself. August 22nd, Austin, Texas, Flock meetup, Holdout Brewing. Grab a ticket on flockfantasy.store. I'll hook you up with free merch, my guy. I promise you it'll be worth $15. I'm sorry we even have to sell tickets in the first place. I just need to make sure I can tell the venue how many people are coming. It's at Holdout Brewing, which is downtown. It's like off 4th Street. You can see everything on the screen right there, my guy, right there. But Frank says the Zuck redemption arc needs to be studied for centuries. A big credit to martial arts. Yeah, I think that every billionaire goes through their period of being hated and gets crap thrown at them. and then people kind of get tired of it, and then the billionaires are allowed to be like, whatever. My friend said Zuckerberg reached out to him because he liked his podcast. He said that Zuckerberg was like the ultimate Chad. That like Mark Zuckerberg was like a Roman emperor, essentially, being around him. But Javonte off the board 115. So looking at the guys that are going to be in play for us, Caleb definitely in play, right? Because we took Rome. Lawrence, you can maybe make an argument, we have ETN. Reality, I don't think quarterback stacks are going to be super important because really the only way that you have to stand yourself out from the rest of the field here will be in week 17. And if we have the Lamb Dak stack go off anyway, it may not matter a ton. So even if we love a quarterback value here that we don't have a stack for, I think we can take them. But we also have the ability to go Tua, right, to pair it with Waddle. Jackson says, Mason just secured tickets for the meetup. See you soon, Beast. Hell yes, my guy. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Thank you, my guy. Okay, Tua goes 118. So it looks like Tua's no longer going to be in play for us. This team is Christian Kirk, so you kind of assume that maybe they go Trevor. They don't, so we're definitely going to take Caleb here to pair up with Rome. I'm an idiot. They have the same bye, and it's going to be hard to advance here because only 1 out of 12 teams advance. So we may end up actually having to take 3 quarterbacks. We may have to get somebody in round 18 because your boy is stupid. Typically, if 2 out of 12 teams advance to the playoff tournament, I'm not stressing too much, and I'm willing to sacrifice those points there. But here, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher just because you only have 1 out of 12 teams here advancing. So it is what it is. I'm an idiot. Probably shouldn't have gone that direction. But I should also probably stop reading the chat and look at the draft a little more. Teresa says, Mason, tell the listeners not in the chat to like the stream. If y'all have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. If we hit 800 likes on this stream, we'll fire up another draft, even if this dog is staring at me begging to go outside. We'll go outside later. All right, little girl. And do you want, if y'all can see her right there, if y'all see her staring at me, she also may just went out of this room. Do you want to go out? I know, my good girl. I actually really like recording with the door right there. It's so much nicer. If girlfriend needs to come get me water, just bam, dog needs in or out. Bam. No issue. Okay. Now, after we take Gus, so a big reason we take Gus here is, like we discussed previously, you do have Rico Dowdle kind of, I don't want to say taking over, Rico Dowdle getting more steam as the starting running back here. Whether it's deserved, I don't know, but it's happening. So I think you are going to see Ezekiel Elliott's ADP fall over the next few weeks, and Dowdle's going to go up, with at least how things are trending at the moment. Okay. So you have a massive run on pretty much every position, not wide receiver. Y'all want to see something that's very funny in these underdog drafts that just won't be the case in your redraft league? Let's go through in the first 3 rounds. Let's count the amount of wide receivers that are selected. In round 1, you have 8 wide receivers. In round 2, you have 7 wide receivers. In round 3, you have 9 wide receivers. So that's 24 wide receivers through the first 3 rounds. If we look at rounds 9 through 11, in round 9, you have 3. In round 10, you have 5. And around 11, you have 1. So you have a total of 9 wide receivers in rounds 9 through 11 versus 24 wide receivers in the rounds 1 through 3. And if I'm one off, don't scream at me. This is off the noggin here. I don't have the calculator out, but tomato, dear God. Essentially triple the amount of wide receivers drafted in the first 3 rounds than the last 3 rounds we were just at. Okay. Doctor says, do you think the Cowboys will sign a running back from free agency? The thing is, please spam the chat. Who do you think the Cowboys should sign and would sign? Because I have been the guy that in the past has kind of gotten burned looking at some of the free agents that were hovering out there thinking, oh, Will Fuller's going to sign and Will Fuller's going to be a great option in best ball. Let me go through and draft him. And then he never does anything. Last year, I was the guy going, ooh, Kareem Hunt's going to go to Miami. This is going to be a great spot. Let me draft a bunch of Kareem Hunt. And I got super lucky that Kareem Hunt scored a couple random touchdowns at the end of the year. We should have gotten crushed and punished for that one too. But Dalvin's completely washed. Dalvin has absolutely nothing left. Yeah, might as well say Adrian Peterson versus Dalvin. Fournette, nothing left. Yeah, really the only option is like trading for Khalil Herbert, essentially. Leonel says they should sign Mason Dodd, 5-star prospect out of Texas. It's a little embarrassing. They brought me in for a workout, and I failed the PED test, my friend. I tried to go for it, but I couldn't get. They wouldn't even let me on the field. They said it wouldn't be safe for anybody out there. Okay. Leggett off the board, 142. Limbo says trade for Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell's dealing with a hamstring. And I don't know if the Niners are in the business of getting rid of running backs with McCaffrey dealing with this calf strain. I think like Hunt's, like the only guy that you could sign. Yeah, we're going to go ahead. We will take Dotson. We kind of need another receiver. After Dotson, I think we may go Marshawn Lloyd. I'm sorry, we're going to go Tyler Algier over Marshawn Lloyd. I think Algier over Lloyd's an easy call, to be honest. Yeah, Frank says trade for Daniel Jones at running back. Yeah, let's make Daniel Jones the highest paid running back in the NFL. Here's a dumb thought, right? Let's take money aside from it all because, like, financially, Justin Fields is better off being a backup quarterback at the NFL level than he is being a starting running back. Like, you are much better off being a backup QB versus a mediocre starting running back in the NFL. But hypothetically, let's say Justin Fields, he's not allowed to throw the ball, and he has to transition over to just playing a true running back role. Would Justin Fields be a good running back in the NFL level? Like, if the Steelers said, like, would he be better than Najee Harris? And is that a dumb question to ask? Please let me know. Ren says Fields had some elite weeks. Fields had some elite fantasy weeks. Real life wise, no. Okay, the answer is no. Blake says yes, but Fields could be a solid change of pace back. Trav says he would die. How big is Fields? Let's pull this up. Justin Fields weighs 227. Ran a 4.51. Andy says Taysom Hill does it. Obviously, looking at Taysom Hill's testing stats coming out of schools, probably not a one-for-one comparison because he's so far away from them. There's no way they're accurate. But yeah, Taysom was 221 coming out of school. Yeah, it's funny. Imagine Justin Fields pass blocking. Lukey says, as a Bears fan, he was just a victim of our terrible QB development program. It's always the chicken and the egg, right? Because there are some quarterbacks that go to horrible situations that turn out to be decent. So, like, are you expecting Caleb to be crushed because of the Bears organization? Ryan says, 2 years, finally got him one with you. What we looking like at 2, Big Dog? Hell yes, my guy. Let's go through. Let's dive into this. You snipe us on Kyron Williams. Like I said, my plan was to go Waddle, Kyron. CMC, Kyron, Evans, Kirk, Kincaid. Love going wide receiver the 6-7 turn. Definitely think you had to. Jordan Love there to pair up with Christian Watson. Jalen Polk, 119's not my cup of tea, but if it looks like Ayuk's not going there, I understand it. Lawrence to pair up with Kirk out of I really like the team. I just completely agree. When you only have 2 receivers through the first 5, you're kind of forced to go wide receiver at the 6-7 turn. And I like the guys you take as well. Lucas says Mitch was supposed to be good. Justin was supposed to be good. And we know how that went. You can say the same thing with all the guys the Jets draft, though. Say the same thing with all the guys that the Bears draft. I'm sorry, not the Bears draft. The Browns draft. Doctor says, back to the CMC Lamb Wilson question. I can keep the same player multiple years for 1-round penalty. To be honest with you, in a 1-player keeper, that has no impact on my decision. If it was a 5-player keeper and we were thinking about our last few spots, I definitely want to consider that. But in a 1-player keeper, it makes no difference to me. Don't laugh at me. Don't make fun of me. We're going to take Quentin Johnston. We're going to take Quentin Johnston and the backup running back for what projects to be the worst offense in the NFL. We'll lock it in. Lucas says, I hope Caleb does well. I'm sick of being a depressed Bears fan. I think Caleb Williams is going to come in and absolutely crush. And it seemed like a hot take when we were saying this way at the beginning of the offseason. And now, obviously, it's the very easy take to have, especially when they trade for Keenan, when they take Rome inside the top 10 picks. So it's not even worth saying now. But I think that this is the best situation a quarterback of this draft capital has pretty much ever stepped into. It's like such a unique instance that the team with the 1 overall pick got it in a trade from the offseason prior. Sometimes a team that doesn't earn the 101 will have the pick because they go out there and they trade a ridiculous amount of assets for it, and they'll deplete the roster, and all of a sudden that quarterback's kind of set up to fail. Or if a quarterback's typically selected at 1 overall, it's because that team had absolutely no talent on the roster. Look at Jacksonville with Lawrence, and the quarterback's set up to fail that way. But Chicago's like the very rare instance where the team already had talent. They lucked themselves into that number 1 overall pick because Carolina's just a complete debacle. And Caleb gets to step into what is a phenomenal situation. Rin says, as a charlatan, we've been calling for the owner to sell the team since 2019. This is something that I'm very bad about. And I'm very honest with y'all about this too. I am the worst fan ever. And the only sports teams that I've ever been a fan of, the Spurs and the Texas Longhorns. Didn't grow up having an NFL. I've told the story 1,000 times. I got into the NFL because I got into fantasy football when I was extremely young. So I started playing in my mom's work league fantasy football when I was extremely, extremely young. Because I started playing fantasy football and really liked it, I started watching the NFL. So I never really had an NFL team that I rooted for. I just had my fantasy players that I rooted for all along. I grew up in the San Antonio area, so I rooted for the Spurs, and the Spurs were very good at the time. I went to the University of Texas, so I root for the Longhorns. But if our team is bad, I do not care. I'm not rooting for a bad team. I'm not going to really be like, I probably have watched less than 10 Spurs games in the last 5 years. I'm probably going to start watching them now that we have Wemby and that we're going to be good again. But like if the Longhorns, after we lose to Texas Tech and we just have absolutely no shot to do anything, I'm wiping my hands. I'm done. I'm no longer emotionally invested into you. So I am the worst fair weather fan ever. I know people absolutely hate that. I honestly think more people should be that way because then it would hold these professional teams to a higher standard. But yeah, I can't wrap my head around being like a fan of a team that has done absolutely nothing for 30 years and still like actively giving them my business. Like I think that there should not be a single Jets fan on this planet. I think that there shouldn't be a single Browns fan on this planet, you know. Up until last year, I don't think that there should have been a single Lions fan on this planet. Once the team's good, then you get my business again. I'm not going to go to the same crappy restaurant over and over and over again if they're not fixing the food. That's disrespectful towards me. Just because I live in your city doesn't mean I have to go and eat your food. Once you make good food, I'll be there. I'll be eating it. I'll be having a grand old time. So, yeah, I like... And I know people absolutely hate that. And I'm like the example of like what you shouldn't be like, but I don't care. I'm probably going to be back on the Spurs now that we have Wemby and we have something that's exciting. Like, give me a good product and I'm in. Okay, let's figure out what we're going to do here. King Rube says, it's not a matter of choice. Once you're a fan, there's no going back. Win or lose, you associate your identity with that team. You just don't get amazed. To be honest with you, I wish I got it, and I wish that I kind of had that connection because I think it's something that I'm missing that I probably would have more fun if I had. I was really the main, like 99.999% of all I care about is my fantasy football teams. And I'm sure if I also was like a massive Cowboys fan, it would make the NFL season even more fun for me, you know. But I really can't. And we are 10 likes away from firing up another draft after this. So if you want another draft, make sure you go down there, hit that like button. In this draft at wide receiver, we are at Lamb, Waddle, Ayuk, Rome, Jahan Dotson, Quentin Johnston, Troy Franklin. Running back, we have Travis Etienne, Alvin Kamara, Gus Edwards, Tyler Algier, Antonio Gibson, Tyrone Tracy. Quarterback, we have Dak stacked up with Lamb. We have Caleb stacked up with Rome. And in round 18, we're probably going to go with another quarterback just because we need to fill the week 7 bye that's left from having Dak and Caleb. Okay. But let's see. Timothy says, 2-keeper, 10-team single flex league. Pick 10. Pick 2. Hill, Chase, Bijan. I like Hill and Chase, but worried I would go Hill and Bijan, to be honest. Especially in a 10-team league. I would go Hill and Bijan. In a regular redraft league, I do have Bijan ranked ahead of Chase. But 800 likes. Let's fire up another draft. And like I said, we're essentially just looking at a quarterback that we think will be starting in week 7. And almost nothing else matters. I think Russ will probably be starting, even if Fields has way more upside for a fantasy perspective. So we're going to probably do now is probably going to hop in the Poodle 2. Like I said, this is the Flock community contest if you want to keep drafting with each other. But it's a 3 max entry. So I've already done my 3 drafts. I can't do any more here. But this looks like it's filling a lot slower than it did the other night. So, I mean, y'all should honestly be able to draft in that tomorrow as well, probably. But instead, we are going to get into the Poodle. This is a little bit of a different format. This is a $7 buy-in instead. This tournament just dropped. This is a tournament that is a $7 buy-in, $200,000 prize pool. First place is for $40,000. Second place is $25,000. Third place is $15,000. Fourth place is $10,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We get pick 1 in this one as well. So here, I think more likely than not, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take CeeDee Lamb as well. I really liked how the last draft worked out for us. I do think that we probably made the mistake of going through and taking Caleb, the quarterback that had the same bye, in a tournament structure where only 1 out of 12 teams advance to the playoffs. But we'll see. Okay. Tresner says, don't get Christian McCaffrey. Try not. John in here with us at pick 10. JRV in here at 9, always out here with us. And did John finally outed himself? We've been waiting for a couple of years now to figure out who is Flock's kryptonite. Apparently it is John. John, let me know if this is true, my guy. Let me know if this is true. David says bench and IR size for a 12-team league. I would say I probably want a 10-player bench and 2 players on the IR. But personally, I like a little bit of a deeper league. I know other people are more so 6, 7 bench spots. Okay. Jordan says it's cap. Sean, pick 8 in this draft with us. Happy to go up against you, my friend. Teresa says, John is not Flock's kryptonite. It's me, Mason. I would love Teresa. Yeah. It is nuts that you're out here with us every single night, even though you can't do drafts. I really do appreciate you. Diego says, how do slow drafts work closer to the season? See, although Underdog also offers like the 8-hour timers for the people who can't sit there and draft a team all at once. And those essentially, the 8-hour timers will get cut down to 4 hours as you get closer to the season. And the timer will just cut down more and more and more the closer you get to the year. So it will get to a point where there's for sure no slow draft happening after the kickoff. And Underdog will stop offering the 8-hour timer drafts once you get close enough to the season. Obviously, I don't know the exact days or anything like that. Okay. Now, 12 goes Gibbs and Waddle for a little bit of a unique combo here, which it definitely makes sense, right? If you think all these wide receivers in round 2 are about the same tier. And at the same time, we know Waddle exclusively goes at the 2-3 turn. We'll be interested to see how far you end up getting Puka Nacua to fall, because now Jonathan Taylor goes off at 14. Flock's kryptonite takes Harrison at 10. Interesting to see them go Harrison Puka, because it's not particularly a unique start, because you could just go Puka Harrison on the other way. Okay. I know like Waddle at 13 seems nuts, but if you think it's like, oh, Waddle or Debo, Waddle or London, Waddle or Nico, and you think they're all about the same, because Waddle goes to the 2-3 turn, for the purpose of the overall tournament, it will be a little bit of a unique combo in comparison to like Gibbs and London, you know. Okay, so Olave off at 19. Smooth this over. Evans goes 20. Adams off 21. Op Luke on the clock. Went Tyreek Hill round 1. Goes Barkley. Frustrating. I wish I would have gotten Saquon Barkley. It is what it is. Can't sit here and cry about it. I think we may go for... I don't want to say anything. Let's see what Shaw does. They go Neighbors. We're going to go for a unique combo here. We are going to take Kupp and Kyron here at the 2-3 turn. I honestly, personally have Kyron Williams ranked straight up over Achane. I'm fine with it. Yeah, Teresa, Rondo actually is pretty significantly hurt. I think he got carted off the field today. So yeah, Rondale Moore just has absolutely no hope at this point. Now, what I'm very concerned about, Tommy, I hate that you bring this up, is yes, Laporta dealing with the hamstring. I've drafted a ridiculous amount of Sam Laporta. Let me just read the exact report for y'all here. Okay. Laporta is dealing with a hamstring injury and will miss a second straight practice Tuesday. The injury is considered minor, but it's safe to assume Laporta will miss Thursday's preseason game against the Giants, even if he feels much better by then. Laporta didn't miss any games as a rookie last year, making 17 appearances in the regular season and 3 more in the playoffs. Obviously, it is not good news. If you wanted to move Laporta behind Kelsey because of this, I wouldn't fault you for it. The drop much further than that, I probably want it. I'm still going to draft a ton of Laporta in round 4, but I probably shouldn't keep reaching on him in round 3. But it's not that good of a spot. Kellen Johnson says, just got MRI results back and I tore my MCL and meniscus. I'm sorry, my friend. Don't know if I'm missing the context here, but if in real life you tore your ACL, MCL, meniscus, brutal. Yeah, Downs is out for at least 6 weeks. What's probably going to happen with Downs, he's probably just going to get thrown on the PUP, right? Like, I think you have to give Pittman a bump up. I think if you wanted to take Pittman over Diggs, not faulting you at all for it. Pittman gets a bump up. A.D. Mitchell gets a slight bump up. Because Downs does profile to be one of those guys that doesn't necessarily help the offense a ton in terms of his speed, stretching the field, but he should command a decent amount of targets when healthy. Joey says, damn, I'm not drafting Kellen Johnson next year. I wouldn't recommend it, my friend. I would not recommend it. Diego says 29 days, boys. These drafts are picking up. Dear God. I know I said this the other night, but I am getting so excited for the season. And it's like a weird feeling of excitement that I don't remember having in the past. That it's just, I'm so intrigued with what's going to happen this year. I feel like there are so many interesting situations. In where I'm most interested this year, that I feel like, I don't remember this really being the case with a lot of offenses previously, but it feels like there's so many wide receiver rooms where there are a bunch of guys in them where we don't know how the targets are going to break down. Examples of this are say, looking at the Green Bay guys. What is the target distribution there in that offense? Looking at Houston. What's the target breakdown between Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell? How are these guys used? Same thing with Chicago. I'm just so excited to see DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen all playing together. But it's a weird excitement. It's like a lot of these situations, I just don't know what's going to happen. And I just want to know what's going to happen. And I feel like we're going to know relatively soon. Adrian says Buffalo as well. Oh God, imagine Curtis Samuel's a wide receiver 1 this year. It will be an ugly scene for your boy. This will be a Puka Nacua situation all over again. Let's see. John says Texans Super Bowl contenders. I haven't looked at the Super Bowl odds in a couple weeks. Let me pull them up. I think last we checked, the Texans were 15-1 or something. The Texans are 16-1. Eagles 15-1. Bengals 15-1. Lions 12-1. Ravens 10-1. Niners 6-1. And Chiefs 6-1. Yeah, who else is even in play? Packers 19-1. Bills 17, Cowboys 20. Actually, I think we did this last week. I think my favorite on that list is probably Bills 17-1. Okay. Mixon goes 64. I may honestly reach on Kyler here at 72. We'll see. Because obviously there's no way we get Kyler Murray making it back around to us. He would go to the Harrison team. The team that has Harrison is Flock's Kryptonite. They also have the worthy Kelsey double stack with Mahomes, so I doubt they're crying if we take Kyler. I was going to go, we take Kyler. We give it to him. We make him feel that pain. And obviously, I don't think they care too much about that. No matter what, we need to at least go with one wide receiver at the 6-7 turn. I think we can go with one receiver and then maybe have some flexibility. But outside of that, it's like, oh, do we want the running back? Do we want Kyler Murray? Godwin goes 70. I'd have been pumped to have Godwin. Okay, Deontay goes 71. I think Christian Watson, you maybe give a slight bump up. We have Jacobs, and at the same time, sounds like Jaden Reed's dealing with something. And I think we will reach on Kyler here to pair up with McBride. We'll go Christian Watson, Kyler Murray, 72-73. Now, Logan says 10-team PPR, Harrison, Kyler, Trey, Stack, Smart, or should we go Kincaid? If you want to go all in on Arizona, do it, my friend. If you want to go all in on Arizona, you can. The thing is, I'd say once you already have that first stack, I'm not reaching on Trey McBride to complete it. But if it falls to you at a value, then that's not bad. Jaden says, thoughts on the 16-team PPR redraft? Pick 14. JT, Puka, McBride, Diggs, Love, Scary Terry, Zeke, Mike Williams, Schultz, Stafford. Should we trade for a running back too? The issue is it's a 14-team format, my friend. It's a 16-team. 16-team league. This is a great team. And no, you should not trade for a running back too. It's going to be extremely expensive to get one. I think you just need to try to beat your league mates off the waiver wire, and you need to try to pick up a running back off waivers, which I understand will be difficult in a 16-team league. Your option there, if you wanted to try to go out there and trade for a running back too, would be to try to sell Puka Nacua for a running back and a wide receiver. But I think you're kind of better off just going ahead and working waivers. You could potentially be okay with Zeke. And obviously, if Zeke goes out and maybe he just gets completely crushed by Dowdle, then at that point, I think we can go ahead and we can pivot. Steve says, you look like the one guy who won $150,000 on Underdog in Best Ball Draft 2 years ago. That is crazy, my guy. Because I don't know if y'all have heard, but I actually did win $150,000 drafting teams on Underdog 2 years ago. I actually do this every night on the live stream. I don't know if y'all have heard that. I'm actually going to do this every night on the live stream every single day leading up to the season. This is actually my favorite place to draft. It's actually called Underdog Fantasy. And I can neither confirm nor deny, I can actually confirm it, that if you go to the link in the description, comment section, or live chat and use code FLOCK, you'll get my 2024 rankings, my 2024 draft guide, my 2024 ADP draft cheat sheet, all of which will be updated every single Sunday and sent to you, the updated version, through your email, the email address you signed up to Underdog and use code FLOCK with. And also, I heard if you use code FLOCK, you'll get a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Now, it's not winning $150,000, but it's something. And you'll get a Christian McCaffrey special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for week 1 against the Jets. Make sure you take advantage. Now, let's see. Tommy says, do you do any other drafts, pick'ems, in other sports with Underdog? Or you just pure football guy? Pure football guy, my guy. If I hopped into a golf draft on Underdog, I would embarrass myself to no end. And Underdog actually has college football tournaments. Even if I would hop in a college football tournament, I would embarrass myself to no end. Even more than I embarrass myself in the regular draft tournaments. So honestly, seeing that Dak Prescott goes before we are on the clock again, it makes me feel very good about our decision to take Kyler Murray. Honestly, I may end up just taking Jordan Love anyway. We're going to take Jordan Love anyway. Who cares? We're going to take 2 quality quarterbacks here. Kellen Johnson says, Mason, I have 80% Waddle through 100 drafts. Is that bad? I see the Dolphins profile pick there, my friend. Here's general advice coming from somebody who's not a fan of any NFL team, so it's easy for me to say. If you're going all in on a player that's a guy from your favorite team, you're more likely than not doing it out of a place of fandom rather than being smart. So if like the Rams are your favorite team and you draft Cooper Kupp at pick 18 in every single draft, and every single draft you take Cooper Kupp, I don't know if you actually know a lot more about the Rams and Cooper Kupp than everybody else, or you're just a Rams fan. So I would recommend to pump the brakes, my guy. Personally. But I mean, obviously, the main reason to get any of these drafts is just to have fun. So if what's going to be the most fun for you is watching your Dolphins, rooting for Waddle, if he's your favorite player, then sure, go for it. 6'3" says, imagine going 80% Puka last year. That's like saying, imagine, oh my gosh, if you put your life savings into NVIDIA calls, ooh, you would be rich. Yeah, if you went 80% Puka last year, you would be rich. But hindsight's 2020. I wish you would have told me go 80% Puka back in May of 2023, my guy. And yeah, this is a better breakdown. This isn't my personal rule, but I think that there's definitely a big difference between drafting 80% of a guy who goes in round 2 versus drafting 80% of a guy who goes in the late rounds, you know. Pudgy says, where was Puka getting drafted last year on Underdog? You know, I'm not the guy to tell you because I did not take Puka in a single one, so I don't know where he was getting. He was getting drafted in round 18, if he was getting drafted. He wasn't getting drafted till before the start of the year. But sadly, your boy was not smart enough to take him a single time. Sadly, your boy got freaking crushed for it. And not only did your boy not be smart enough to take him a single time, but I also took an active stance that he was a bad 18th round pick, which is so much worse than just not drafting him. To not draft him and then also to come out and say, oh, yeah, no, he's a bad pick. Where's the upside? Bad offense. Cooper Kupp's there. He's a day 3 NFL draft pick. Why do y'all think he's so special? And then he comes out and is the best rookie wide receiver of all time. It is a little bit of a tough look. I'm not going to lie to you. But you live, you learn, you move on, and hopefully you live to fight another day. Okay, we cannot take another quarterback through the rest of this draft, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot take another one. Purdy goes 112, Shakidov 113. Javonte 114. We really do need another wide receiver if we get the opportunity to take one. We are sitting with Lamb, Kupp, Christian Watson. But obviously it'd be ideal for another receiver. What's the Judy report? Not the major. Henry says, Jesus, you had 800 likes last night, couldn't get to 300. It's literally because I got a haircut, my guy. I literally pulled up Twitter, saw that we were trending. Bunch of girls tweeting out, oh my gosh, go to the Flock Fantasy live stream. Look, Mason got a haircut. Mason got a haircut. And here we are. Okay. Lawrence off 117. Shakira falling. If you look at his ADP, like I've discussed before, he does kind of have a fake ADP just because usually the Josh Allen team takes him. Let's see. This team needs a quarterback. They know I cannot take a quarterback, though. So if they only need one, they don't need to take him here, which sucks for us. They go Judy, so I guess it means we're getting Shakira. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to reach on Jerome Ford. The reason being is I think Ford's the perfect example of someone that gets you hooked up with some early season, almost guaranteed production. And Jonathan Brooks is someone that doesn't have the early season production for you. However, he does give you the late season upside. So I think it's a pretty nice combo between the two. Pairing up Ford and Jonathan Brooks. So now wide receiver, we have Lamb, Kupp, Watson, Shakir. Running back, we have Kyron, Jacobs, Brooks, Ford. Tight end, we have McBride paired up with Kyler at quarterback. And at quarterback, we have Kyler and Jordan Love. Jordan Love paired up with Christian Watson as well as Josh Jacobs. Love to hear it, Justin. Love to hear it, my guy. Alex says, hindsight, Rams had like 30 rookies starting on the team. Yeah, like obviously it's so easy in fantasy football to look back in anything in life. Going back to like the, oh my gosh, if you would have just bought NVIDIA example. Oh my gosh, if you would have just done this. It's obvious now. Anybody who is smart knew this was going to happen. It's like putting yourself, I mean, once we know that it happens, once we know the Rams are a great offense last year, once we know Kupp's injured and Kupp falls off a cliff, then yeah, it's like, oh yeah, the Rams are a great offense. Cooper Kupp gets injured. It's probably a good idea to have as much Puka Nacua as possible. But going into the season, the projections were saying that the Rams are going to be a bad offense. Or a zillion wide receivers. It's kind of hard to know which one to be from. So it's always so easy to look back, hindsight being 2020. And I do want to say there were other people much smarter than I were that at the time were able to identify it. But now it always gets into the situation where it seems like everybody thinks, oh yeah, it was just super easy. Everybody knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen for sure. And in reality, it's like, okay, I want some receipts. Okay. Will says, am I crazy for thinking Bo Nix can finish as the top 10 quarterback? Solid O-line, decent weapons, and a fairly bad defense, meaning they'll potentially be playing catch-up. So if you look at sports books, they are currently projecting the Broncos to be a bottom 5 offense in the NFL. Bo Nix had some rushing touchdowns at Oregon. Obviously, the production was just absolutely off the charts. I don't want to say you'd be crazy to... My thing with the rookie quarterbacks, outside of Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams is such in a unique spot, given the situation that he has, as well as outside of Jaden Daniels, because Jaden Daniels has the rushing upside. But if you're looking at the rookie quarterbacks, I think maybe we're kind of selling ourselves in too much on the upside of these other guys just because CJ Stroud happened this past year. Whereas if you look at CJ Stroud, I mean, if you look at pretty much any other rookie quarterback in a vacuum not named Stroud, like the last guy that gave you a actual viable fantasy season as a rookie was Deshaun Watson, right, in 2017? Unless I'm mistaking something. AJ says, sign up with your code, never got the draft guide. How do I get it? It will come from Mason Dodd at flockfantasy.com, my friend. Check your email, mason.dodd at flockfantasy.com. Raphael and Duke asking about Joe Burrow. We'll pull up Joe Burrow and see exactly what he did. I think we definitely need at least one receiver. I think we're going to go ahead. We will take Jahan Dotson here at 144. After Dotson, we already have a bunch of Packers. I don't know how many more we want. In terms of Leggett, we'll go Xavier Leggett. We're kind of in on this Carolina offense with where we take Jonathan Brooks. But let me pull up what Burrow did his rookie season, because maybe Burrow did make a big difference in fantasy. If I remember correctly, I remember Burrow looking like a good NFL quarterback, but I don't remember him being viable for fantasy football purposes. But obviously his rookie season was cut short. Okay. So Burrow averaged 17.4 points per game his rookie season in Cincinnati. Let me see where that put him in terms of all QBs. Let's go QB. Keep in mind, Burrow is also a first-round pick. So Joe Burrow obviously had a great rookie season in 2020. If we take out all the quarterbacks that played fewer than 8 games, Joe Burrow was the QB 17. So he didn't make a difference. If you're QB 17, you're a streaming option based off matchup. So I think legitimately the last rookie quarterback not named CJ Stroud that made a difference in fantasy was Deshaun Watson in 2017, which is crazy. I just pulled this up. Deshaun Watson averaged 24.1 points per game in 2017 as a rookie. The next highest quarterback was Russell Wilson at 21.7. And can y'all guess who was the other quarterback? Who was the QB3 in 2017 in points per game? Can y'all guess? Who was the QB3 in 2017 in points per game? Duke says Russell Wilson and RG3. The Almighty Hat Snatcher says Drew Brees. Y'all got to get this. Y'all got to get this. Alex says Tom Brady. Teresa says Drew Brees. Kaepernick, Brees, Phillip Rivers. Nobody's come close. Rodgers, Brady, Big Ben, Dak, Osweiler. Rodgers, Cam, Fitzmagic, Russ, Rodgers. Stafford, Rodgers, Mahomes, Breeze. Mayfield, Russ, Manning, Big Ben, Cam Newton, Roethlisberger, Foles. Ryan Palmer, Ryan, Big Ben, Russ. Knee capper slapper. First one to get it. Don't know if they looked it up, but it was Carson Wentz, 2017, QB3. Saw a bunch of people saying that Justin Herbert maybe made a difference in fantasy his rookie season. We'll go back to that 2020 draft class. Justin Herbert was QB9. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you can say Justin Herbert. He was still in a one quarterback format, kind of in the streaming range, but he definitely made a difference. QB9. Okay. Noah Fant goes 163. So we're done at quarterback. We're definitely going to be drafting a few more. We're at least drafting one more tight end, one more running back, a couple more receivers. AJ with the 9th pick. I would go with any of the. I'll show you the draft board real quick. I see your message. Lucas, yes, I'll do a quarterback rankings tier list video. Okay, what are we doing here? I'm just thinking. Y'all can hate me for it. I'm going Wandale and Quentin Johnson. We're going to take another Quentin Johnson share. Yippee, Quentin Johnson, wide receiver 75, my favorite. All right, but anyway, real quick, AJ, if you're in a regular redraft league, we're going to start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. At pick 9, if any of the top 8 guys fall to you, they're essentially an auto pick. Like if you can get Lamb, CMC, Tyreek, Chase, St. Brown, Jefferson, Bijan, Brees, any of those guys fall to you, please, just for the love of God, take them. If all those 8 guys go, and then we're at pick 9 trying to figure out what we're going to do, there at that point, I probably pivot over and go Jahmyr Gibbs. And we go Gibbs. But Tresner says, do not draft Johnson or I'm leaving. I'm sorry, my friend. I am actually probably going to be leaving myself here because your boy needs to respond to some emails, walk this dog, and shower because I was playing. This is a little gross, but you can hear it. I've just played pickleball for like 2 hours in the 100-degree heat. Came here, threw on this suit jacket, started live streaming right away. Have not showered. Definitely need that before I go to bed. And I am tired as hell. So we are going to go ahead, shut this down. Really do appreciate y'all. And yeah, of course, we're going to be streaming every single night. We're probably going to be streaming more flock drafts tomorrow night if you wanted to hop in flock drafts with us on Underdog. All you got to do is go to the link in the description, link in the comment section, link in the live chat. If you use code FLOCK, you're going to get our updated 2024 rankings, 2024 draft guide, 2024 ADP draft cheat sheet. Those will update every single Sunday and be sent out to you every Sunday till the season starts. And also, you will get a Christian McCaffrey special pickup, more than less than half a total yard. On top of that, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be getting a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. You just have to be in one of these states if you want to draft on Underdog. But I think that should be it. Detroit Fitness Nerd asking any videos on projections with the difficult schedules. I'll see if I can get that going, my friend. I will see. But I think that's all I got for you. Really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day. And really hope I get to see you out with the live stream and draft against you tomorrow night.